Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of What If Naruto and Temari became Missing-Nin. If you enjoyed the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 17, Not for those allergic to angst. Well, Naruto started off thoughtfully. My tale begins many years ago when my older brother murdered my entire family. It just came out of the blue. One day we were a successful though small family of blacksmiths, and the next everyone was dead. I managed to escape only because of pure luck. When he finally came for me, I grabbed an unfinished knife off the wall and tried to fend him off. He was very experienced, but blood made his hand slippery, and he lost his grip on his weapon for just a second. In that second, I thrust my blade into his stomach and ran out of the house, never to look back. I was about 6 at the time. Naruto was pleased at the reaction he got. Sirius' eyes were wet and the man looked truly sad. Suddenly, he started openly sobbing and Naruto found himself engulfed in a crushing bear hug. To overcome such hardship must have required amazing strength. The boy wanted to respond, he really did, but an odd tingling sensation was running all throughout his body. He had also felt an odd tingling when Temari had hugged him, but that had been more of a warm tingle and this was more a circulation being cut off tingle. He looked over Sirius' shoulder and glared at Temari, who was currently laughing silently at his predicament. Once the big man finally let go, Naruto made a mental note to lessen the angst from now on. He valued his skeletal structure. Sirius took a step back and rubbed his head bashfully. I must apologize, for I fear I was overcome by emotion. Naruto worked the kinks out of arms, no kidding. But if I can get back to my story. Sirius smiled innocently, by all means. Naruto took a moment to think. He had theorized that it would be difficult to make up a decent-sounding backstory on the fly, so he had decided that the most logical thing to do was combine the original material he had made up in the past with ideas from the histories of people he knew. He had always been told that the best lies were somehow based on truth. After that, I managed to somehow find my way to the nearby hidden village of Mist, where I worked for a barber who was an ex-nin and taught me some basic mist jutsus in his spare time. Naruto braced himself, making sure Sirius wasn't going to physically demonstrate his emotion again, and continued. Very little of interest happened in those years, and I left the barber shop at the age of 9 to look for work as a blacksmith's apprentice. I found a shop that would allow me to work in exchange for room and board, and spent the next year and a half working there. I would have been happy working there till I was 18, but fate intervened. It turned out that the blacksmith I was working for was loyal to a nin named Momoki Zabuza. Ever heard of him? Sirius nodded. Yes indeed. The devil of the hidden mist failed a coup d'etat and fled the village with his followers, who I'm guessing included my master and I. That's right. Naruto finished. I somehow got dragged along and found myself being trained in various ninja arts, awaiting the day that the hunter nins would catch up to our group. I quickly decided I wanted nothing to do with a group of missing nins. Naruto almost grinned at the irony, and I ran away one night, slipping away in the dark. Sirius thrust his arm out and pumped it in the air. Such bravery. I find myself in awe of your burning passion for life. I tremble at the mere thought. A young man, desperately trying to escape a horrible situation, fighting valiantly for his freedom. Okay then, Naruto said, not quite sure how to respond to that. Anyway, I found myself an 11-year-old with a wide range of skills, but no connections to anyone, so I just started to wander from town to town doing odd jobs. Most of the time, people took pity on me and paid a high price for me to just do basic tasks. Sirius nodded while stroking his chin. Ah yes, using one's youth and cuteness for monetary gain, very clever. Naruto glared. Would you please stop interrupting me with your comments? Sirius stopped smiling. No, they're needed. Why? Because people who are lying tend to slip up when their story flow is disrupted. Temari started to get nervous as Naruto responded. What do you think I'm lying about? Sirius looked at him oddly. Actually, I'm not sure. Most of what you said had the feel of truth to it. Naruto mentally patted himself on the back. Then what makes you think I'm lying at all? While waiting for an answer, The boy ran through everything he had said, looking for a flaw, and realized at the same moment Asuras spoke. You made the same mistake so many people in your situation make. It's a subconscious defense reaction that develops with all who are on the run. You're so willing to tell me what I want to know, but haven't told me your name yet. The tension hung in the air for a moment, as all three nins waited for something to happen. Naruto knew he had made a mistake and that his cover was at least semi-blown, but Sirius looked to be waiting for him to make the first move. Fushikao Naruto is my name, but I'm afraid I've given up all my cool titles. Sirius nodded slowly. For some, a title is something from which to draw strength, while for others it is a weight that drags you down a path you wish to avoid. He turned, and you would be. The sand girl was more abrupt. Temari. Silence reigned again for a moment, until Nimbus landed next to the group and immediately noticed the odd atmosphere. Is everything okay here? Sirius suddenly regained his energy and smiled brightly. Indeed, I was just enthralled by Naruto-kun's story. He has led a most amazing life. Nimbus looked to Naruto in curiosity. Is it okay if I listen? The Cloud Jounin grinned brighter. That sounds like a most excellent idea. In fact, he turned to his other students, Stratus, Cumulus. Take a break and come listen, you might learn something. His other slightly beat-up students landed among their little group, breathing heavily. Sirius gave Naruto a look. Continue on, Naruto-san, don't mind us. Naruto wasn't really sure what was going on, so he dove back into his story. During my travels, I found my way to hidden sand. // 2 hours later // Sirius and Naruto sat under a tree at the edge of the training area, while Temari and the Cloud Jounin did some light taijutsu sparring. Naruto looked conflicted and opened his mouth to speak when Sirius held up a hand. You know, kid, you tell really good stories. Even I stopped bothering to try deciphering the truth from what you made up. In fact, I really don't want to know the truth. You've shown no hostile intentions, and until that happens, I'll treat you the same as any other guest of the Hidden Cloud. Naruto looked down. Thank you. Sirius suddenly lost his air of seriousness. No need to thank me. I am a friend of all who burn with youthful exuberance. // slash minus 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 slash minus. Gaara stood in on the hunter debriefing as the representative of Sand. Currently, Kakashi was reporting their actions right before Neji's confrontation of Naruto. And so, The masked Jounin glanced at Gaara, very gently knocked Temari unconscious, ran to the rendezvous, and passed her off to Shikamaru, who then used ropes to tie her. Kakashi suddenly paused and the whole room went silent as Shikamaru suddenly found himself engulfed in sand up to his neck. Gaara was completely calm as he spoke. Why have you stopped? Continue with your report. Kakashi coughed into his hand. Well, after very gently and carefully tying Temari up, Shikamaru stood guard. Unfortunately, due to certain oversights, she was able to escape unharmed by overpowering him. The masked Jounin figured it was best to mention Temari's escape as soon as possible. Time passed as Kakashi gave his report until he reached the part about his and Temari's confrontation in the forest. At this point, Gaara's sand started to drift around the room, so Kakashi again rushed to the part where he was his by the steam blast, and the sand quieted. Sitting on the sidelines, Iruka could see only too well the truth in what Kakashi had told him in the forest. Gaara was looking murderous enough at the thought of his sister being tied up. Fortunately, the rest of session was violence-free, as Iruka, Ibiki and Anko gave their respective reports. The Hokage dismissed them, and they all filed outside. Shikamaru was the last out the door, and was about to head home and take a nap when he was suddenly engulfed in sand again. // slash minus 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 slash minus. Naruto smirked slightly as Temari landed next to him. Sirius had taken her place in the quickly degenerating sparring session and was currently taunting Stratus to the point of insanity. The sand girl glared painfully at him. Damn it. It actually hurts to have to hold back this much. Naruto shrugged, a body trained to react instantly and with deadly precision is difficult to restrain. We train for hours every day to make ourselves as deadly as possible, so containing those combat instincts can be difficult. His voice suddenly became slightly strained, but it's kind of funny to watch them, isn't it? Temari looked up at the sky. Yeah. Naruto shifted closer and the two of them leaned gently against each other. How long ago was it? He asked as Sirius struck a pose while his students sighed, or were we ever so innocent? Temari laughed, but her voice had a sad tone to it. We were, but that time seems now like it was a foolish daydream. Naruto nodded in silent acknowledgement. The two of them watched as Nimbus and Cumulus snuck behind Stratus and jumped him, grappling him to ground and tying him up with twine. The two girls mercilessly tickled the restrained boy, only to scream when Sirius tackled them from behind, forming an odd dog pile of laughing forms. Why, she asked suddenly, do you put so much trust in Sirius? We don't even know anything about him. Naruto thought carefully, that man knows what it truly is to be a shinobi, and yet he continues to be one. He understands how difficult life can be. Stratus managed to escape his bonds and crawled out from the pile to dive on top of it. How do you know all this? Temari asked. Something changes in a person when they've been subjected to too much pain and loneliness, and it's obvious for those of us who know what we're looking for. At that moment, his voice sounded so sad that it struck Temari on some deep level. Unable to think of anything else to say, she reached an arm over Naruto's shoulder, pulled him just a little closer, and felt him hesitantly reach around her waist a moment later. The two of them just sat and watched the Cloud Nins at play as they held each other in a semi-hug. Slash minus 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 slash. Shikamaru was in darkness for some time, but was patient. Eventually, the sand on his head retracted and he found himself in a small room facing Gaara, Kankuro and Baki. The shadow user had known something like this would happen to at least one member of the team, but he had been hoping it wouldn't be him. It was common practice in situations like this for any secondary group with an interest in the mission, in this case, the Sand, to conduct their own unofficial debriefing. Shikamaru looked at the three people before him. Gaara growled, "You will tell me everything that happened in your own words. I want to know every detail of what you observed about my sister." Shikamaru just sighed. It was going to be a long night. Slash minus 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 slash 1 month later slash minus 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 slash. As evening fell, Temari stood the training field, surrounded by various clones. Cumulus and Stratus used the regular variety, whereas Nimbus favored water clones. She knew that somewhere in the crowd of clones were the real people, but finding them would be a chore. What she was currently doing was what Sirius called teamwork exercises. What that meant was that Stratus, Cumulus and Nimbus had to, using any means possible, try to overcome either Naruto or Temari, who were both restricted to taijutsu. So far, the Cloud Genin had lost a consecutive 59 times. Currently, for their 60th try, Temari was noticing a distinct use of Naruto-esque tactics. Unfortunately, the make a million clones and attack blindly strategy wasn't working any better for them than it had for Naruto. The spar had been going on for 6 minutes now, and Temari had destroyed almost 2/3 of clones and didn't even have a scratch on her. Though still hidden, the three attackers knew this fight would be over shortly and collectively grumbled. Every time a match ended, the defender would change, and that meant Naruto was up next. Now and then, the Genin would hit upon a good plan and had almost gotten Temari once or twice, but for all their attempts, they hadn't even landed a hit on the Fox Boy. Naruto and Temari only ever spent half the day with Sirius and his team. The rest of the time they spent either entertaining themselves or practicing with their respective weapons and testing out higher-level jutsus in the wilderness right outside Hidden Cloud. They were living pretty boring lives and hadn't taken on any real missions yet, but they were both content. After their first day, the two had quickly become unofficial additions to the storm of righteous fury. Nowhere were they registered, but their help allowed Team 5 to complete more tasks in a day, more dogs walked and more weeds pulled than any other genin team, and in return, the two Nukanins got some money and were allowed to sleep in the training field. Naruto stood off to one side, waiting for his turn to train. He watched amusedly as another 6 clones were taken out by a spinning kick on Temari's part. He hadn't told her yet, but he knew it would soon be time to leave. He had seen the signs, some of the other Cloud Jounin were getting suspicious. He didn't feel particularly sad about leaving. The genin viewed him more as a superior than a companion, despite their similar ages, and he hadn't really had much contact with anyone outside the team. In fact, Cirrus was the only one Naruto really thought he would miss. Naruto and Cirrus had formed a somewhat odd relationship over the course of their various interactions, and they shared a rare understanding. Most of their communication was done without words, as both were much more withdrawn when not in a group of people. Temari had one night seen them laying in the field staring at the stars, and had come back 4 hours later to see that neither had moved. They weren't speaking, and yet Temari had felt that had she said anything, she would have been interrupting. Naruto could truly say that he saw the slightly odd man as a friend, though their friendship had developed in a rather bizarre way. //flashback //. It was the 7th day after Cirrus first found them lying in his training field, and after a particularly long day of training, the Jounin had offered to take the two of them out to dinner as they really didn't have any money left. Naruto instantly suggested ramen, which was received with annoyance and bemusement by Temari and Cirrus respectively, but Naruto eventually convinced the sand girl, so they found themselves at an all-you-can-eat ramen stand. Temari quickly finished her one bowl of ramen, and declared she was going back to polish her fan, leaving Naruto and Cirrus happily inhaling their noodles. After 11 bowls, Naruto patted his belly and turned to his companion. "I have to say I'm curious about something." "Really? What?" was what Cirrus meant to say, but since his mouth was full, it came out more like "why we, fwa." Naruto rested his elbow on the counter and leaned on his hand. "Why are you helping us?" Cirrus swallowed. "Why wouldn't I?" The Jounin tensed as Naruto's eyes narrowed. "If it were just me, I would be fine with us both playing fools, but I have someone else to look out for, and you know perfectly well that we're not supposed to be in this village. I've been as straight with you as I can be, so I want the same from you." Cirrus leaned back on his stool, so only 2 legs touched the ground. "I suppose that's fair, but the answer is simple. I envy your conviction." Naruto was mildly surprised, but he didn't show it. "Elaborate." Cirrus gestured to the owner to get him another bowl. "When I was 16, I was still a genin, and had been dating one of my teammates for a year and a half. I supposed what we had might have one day led to something more, since I always wanted kids, but we were one day assigned what was supposed to be a simple mission, just hunting down some highway robbers, but they had a few Shoyunin-level nins among them." The old man returned with the ramen, and Cirrus asked for a beer before returning to his story. "It really shouldn't really have been a big deal. Our teacher, Hirato, was a Jounin, so logically, we should have won without much trouble." Cirrus stopped talking and looked lost in the past, so Naruto decided to prod him forward slightly. "And what happened during the battle?" Cirrus leaned back a bit further, balancing and putting his legs up on the counter. There was no battle. Within seconds of our ambush, my 2 teammates were down with minor wounds." Not expecting such a fast response, and now missing most of his, Cirrus spoke bitterly. "Meat Shield." Our Jounin instructor turned and ran. He pulled up his left sleeve, revealing that most of the skin was discolored scar tissue. With the major threat gone, we stood no chance. My teammates died helpless on the ground, and I escaped by using my arm to shield myself from the rain of kunai that followed me. I was hit 27 times, and almost lost my arm. His beer arrived, and he grabbed a paper cup and poured some into it. I arrived at headquarters after being released from the hospital to check on the mission report. All it said was "mission failed, 2 casualties." Those words were the sum total of how much the village valued the lives of my friend and love. Soon wasn't even reprimanded. He passed the paper cup of beer to Naruto, who looked at it curiously. At that moment, I wanted nothing more than to run as far as I could from Hidden Cloud and all it represented, but I never worked up the nerve. All I have been able to do is make sure that at least one genin team has a teacher who will never abandon them." Naruto sat quietly for a moment, but that's a lot better than nothing, isn't it? Sirius smiled slightly and held up his bottle to the burning passion of youth. Naruto's raised his paper cup to the burning passion of youth. Slash minus slash minus slash and flashback minus slash minus slash minus slash. Sirius had been a bit more withdrawn for a couple of days, and his students had inquired about his health when he had kept his voice at normal volume and only made them run through their introductory pose sequence 3 times one morning, instead of the usual 10. After that, Naruto had started to treat Sirius with more respect, even when the man was leaping through the air, yelling about energy and spirit. Naruto looked up to see that Temari was just finishing off the clones, revealing 3 wiped out genin. She hadn't even broken a sweat. She wandered over to what had become the 2's sitting spot. "Your turn." He shook his head. "We're done for the day, we have things we need to do." Temari shrugged. "Okay, so what are the things we need to do?" "We need to get out of here tonight. There have been too many people inquiring about our presence." She shook her head. "And whose fault is that, exactly?" Slash minus slash minus slash flashback minus slash minus slash minus slash. 3 weeks after their arrival, the 3 again found themselves going out to eat. Refusing ramen, they were eating in a rather typical bar and grill type of place. For the first few minutes, everything had been fine, but then Naruto started to notice things. There were a number of nins eating, and many of them were whispering and pointing in Sirius' direction. A few of them started laughing and pretended to strike poses. Naruto was just about to say something when a group approached their table. The middle one, obviously the leader, spoke first. "Eating with mercenaries, Sirius? I never thought even you would sink this low." A large number of nins looked down on people without ninja training who fought for money. Without forehead protectors and with Naruto carrying around a sword as big as his, a weapon no normal shinobi would use, most would assume they were mercenaries. Naruto stood up and glared. "I don't kill for money." The nin smirked arrogantly at him. "Oh? How do you decide who to kill then?" It was here that Naruto made his fatal mistake. In his anger, he let some of his chakra seep out as he bared his fangs. "Whomever I want." The group offending nins suddenly started to look extremely nervous and backed off, but Sirius grabbed his arm and dragged him out of the restaurant, Temari following. Once they were outside, Sirius sighed. "That was very stupid, Naruto." Naruto, of course, knew this already, and was hanging his head. He had a feeling this was going to come back and haunt him later. Slash minus slash minus slash and flashback minus slash minus slash minus slash. From that day on, people had started to glance in his direction whenever he walked by, and he had heard a few of the rumors. They were all crap, but people soon started to take an interest in him. So now they had to leave. Naruto and Temari started to pack up the few things they had as Stratus, Cumulus and Nimbus stretched in the field. Noticing something was amiss from his vantage point, Sirius landed next to them. "Isn't it your turn to defend, Naruto-kun?" The boy shook his head. "I'm afraid we need to get ready, we're going to be leaving tonight." Sirius looked sad, but not surprised. "Ah yes, I feared this day would come soon." Temari called over to the genin in the field. "Hey, you guys. Come over here for a second." After everyone was made aware of their departure, things were packed up, and Sirius gave everyone bear hugs, even his students, just for the heck of it. Naruto and Temari left the field that had been their home for a month, and headed for the wall. Naruto looked upset as they approached the barrier, and veered off at the last minute. The girl looked at him oddly as he went into a convenience store and started looking through a phone book. Slash minus 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 slash minus. Stratus was awakened the next morning by a knocking on his door, and was surprised to find a member of the village police on the other side. "Excuse me," the man said, "all the shinobi in the village are gathering. There's been an incident." When Stratus arrived at the base of the tower, he looked around in awe. He had never seen this many shinobi in one place before. The Raikage emerged from the tower and looked over the group assembled before him. This morning, a mailman found one of our shinobi murdered in his bed. A gasp went through the crowd. His name was Tsumhirato, a jounin. I want you all to go about your normal business, but rest assured that matter will be fully investigated. That is all. Stratus rushed to the training field, where his teammates were waiting for him. The three started to excitedly talk about the Raikage's announcement, waiting for their teacher to arrive. Slash minus 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 slash minus. Temari watched Naruto as they walked. Her eyes flickered towards the blood stains on his sword wrappings. Did he deserve that? Naruto looked back at her. Yes. She tilted his head sideways and looked at him searchingly, then nodded. Slash minus 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 slash minus. Cyrus was sitting at the ramen stand in the exact same seat he had sat in 3 weeks before, staring at the open, but untouched bottle of beer in front of him. He couldn't describe how he felt right then. It was a combination of so many emotions. Cyrus had access to information that was normally restricted. Tsumhirato hadn't just been killed, he had been cut cleanly in half. Everything Cyrus had experienced flashed through his mind in an instant, the most vivid image being that of his teammates, lying abandoned as they were set upon from all sides. The voice of the only girl he had ever loved, screaming her last. Tears ran down his face as he raised his bottle in a silent toast and took one swig. He set the rest on the counter with some money, and wiped his face on his sleeve. It was time to meet his students. Chapter 18, Stalkers Who Play Guitar. His ears ringing, an almost awake Naruto swiped at the alarm clock next to his bed. It took him a moment to remember where he was, and he stretched as he sifted through recent memories. They had left Hidden Cloud 2 days ago, and were currently in a small town, only a day's travel from Oceanside, the next city they planned to visit. From the looks of the room, Temari had already left, probably to see the musicians. Their current location was named Snokken, which Naruto felt was a very odd name, but Snokken was renowned for its street performers. He grabbed his bag and headed out the door of their room, intent on seeking his companion. The street seemed oddly empty as he wandered, and Naruto started to get suspicious. He passed 1 or 2 small musicians, but nothing of interest, and no people. He finally asked someone what was going on, and an old man directed him to stage 6. Once he arrived, he realized that luckily, it wasn't going to be very difficult to find Temari, as everyone in the town seemed to be gathered in one place. All the girls, at least. On one of the larger stages that were scattered about the streets, 2 performers were playing to a crowd of love-struck fans and their jealous boyfriends, who liked the music anyway. The lead attraction was a dark-haired guitarist who played so fast even someone of Naruto's reflexes was impressed. His instrument seemed like it was going to burst into flame as his hands danced over the strings. Behind him was a larger man who was beating out a steady tempo on a large African drum. Naruto sighed as he noticed that Temari was just as enraptured as the rest of them, gazing up at the stage, and he took a moment to more closely examine the 2 performers, as something about them didn't feel quite right. The drummer suddenly grinned at him in a distinctly shark-like way, and Naruto's eyes widened. It took only a minute for the song to finish, so Naruto had to think on his feet. He pushed his way to the front of the crowd, turned his back to the stage, crossed his arms, and activated a few fear stimuli. I'm sorry folks, but due to unforeseen circumstances, the show is over for now. A collective groan came from the crowd, which started to dissipate, and Temari looked both annoyed and confused. Naruto jumped on stage and grabbed the guitarist's shoulder. What the hell are you 2 doing here, Itachi? The Uchiha activated his Sharingan for a moment. Various things, Naruto-kun, but primarily looking for you. The boy looked confused. Why? Kasami leaned over from his position at his drum. We'll talk somewhere more private. Naruto just grabbed his head. Okay, you guys grab your stuff and I'll take you back to our room. Both Kasami and Itachi raised simultaneous eyebrows and spoke in tandem. You did say our room, didn't you? He glanced at Temari, who was still on the ground in front of the stage and looking even more confused. The Akatsuki followed his gaze and Kasami grinned, already got a girl. You work fast, don't you, brat? Naruto tightened his grip on his head, grabbed the instruments, explaining will be done later. He turned to Temari, who looked about to speak. That applies to you too, all will become clear once we get out of the freaking street. I hope. The Genjutsu Ed forms of Itachi and Kasami grabbed their instruments and followed Naruto back to the hotel. Once they were all standing in the room, the Akatsuki dropped their illusion and Temari gasped slightly at Kaisam's appearance. The drum poofed away to reveal Same Hada, but Itachi's guitar seemed real. Naruto sat on the bed. Okay, first things first. Temari, this is Hoshigaki Kasami, and that's Uchiha Itachi, who are about to explain why they're stalking me and playing music for donations. Naruto actually wasn't sure which of those two things he found weirder. Itachi just leaned against the wall and pulled a stick of Pocky out of his pocket, giving Kasami a look that obviously meant that the shark man would be doing the explaining. Kasami sighed, we tracked you down pretty easily, as there aren't many places you can go from Hidden Cloud. As to why we're looking for you, we were traveling this way anyway, and have been given a mission offer that might interest you. Kasami gave Temari an appraising look, and your friend. That made sense, so Naruto nodded, okay, but I'm still not getting the part where two S-class Nukanins are playing music in the street. The shark man sighed yet again, we were given a mission allowance, but we were dropping Kirin off in a village up north, and there just happened to be a Pocky factory there, and coincidentally, it was Pocky Appreciation Week, and through mysterious circumstances, Itachi somehow managed to lose our money bag, and was given a few hundred free boxes of Pocky. Still leaning against the wall, Itachi smiled to himself, and of course, chicks dig guys who can play guitar. Naruto had hung his head about halfway through Kaisam's explanation, so the two most deadly men on the planet are broke because Itachi has no self-control. Itachi glared, I do too. Naruto raised an eyebrow, really? Kasami said a few hundred boxes of Pocky. Itachi's eyebrow rose to meet Naruto's, getting a bit mouthy, aren't we, brat? Unnoticed, Temari had been backing towards the door throughout their banter, and as Naruto and Itachi exchanged smirks, she turned and quickly went out. The other members of the room only noticed when they heard the door slam. Everyone else stood frozen for a moment, then Naruto went to follow her. As the door slammed a second time, Kasami went for the remote from its perch on a side table and flicked on the TV. Itachi grabbed another stick of chocolatey goodness and looked up at his partner. That could have gone better. Slash minus 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 slash. Naruto looked both ways in the hallway and saw the door to the stairwell at his left closing. He ran and reached the door in 4 steps, pulling it open. He heard a sound above him and started to climb the winding stairs. He didn't rush, but moved methodically. He had gone up 4 floors when he heard the door to the roof. Just moments later, he was facing that same door, and he opened it slowly, not wanting to startle the apparently bothered girl. He stepped onto the roof and winced slightly as the sun hit his eyes. Temari was standing with her back to him, not appearing to be paying attention to much of anything. When she spoke, it was in an odd tone of voice. It's funny. I have actually heard of Hoshigaki Kasami. He killed most of Water Country's generals and lords. 39 people in all. He also killed most of their guards and attendants. Another 127 people. Naruto was feeling an odd churning in his stomach as Temari slowly turned to face him. He is a person of very rare variety. He scares me shitless. Temari's voice rose a notch, and do you know what? The other one seems even more frightening. I was shaking. Me. The sister of Sabaku no Gaara is afraid of a little girly man with a ponytail. She finally got fully turned around, so she was facing him. Those two are real S-class criminals, Naruto, and they're really dangerous. Naruto suddenly started get annoyed. Even after all their time together, she still didn't understand. We are all Nukanin, and we do what we have to. Kasami and Itachi have just had more difficult lives than we have. So they have had to kill more people. Temari struggled with this for a moment, So, that makes their killing okay. Naruto half sighed half growled, sometimes, yes. I didn't see you having moral qualms about killing that leaf hunter who went after you. Temari glared, but those two kill just because it's convenient, they're monsters. The sore spot had been struck. Naruto suddenly took a step towards her, like me, you mean? You think I'm a monster? Temari shook her head, but you're not normally like that. You only hurt people when. Naruto's red chakra started to pulse around him as he took another step forward. When I need to? When people get in my way. Do you see a difference between what I do and what those two Akatsuki do? She lost a bit of her conviction, yes. Suddenly, the chakra started to pulse more strongly, and Temari could feel the charge in the air as the red and blue energy surrounded Naruto. He had held eye contact throughout their conversation, and his pupils suddenly contracted, narrowing into slits. Temari found herself fighting the urge to take a step back as he again moved slightly closer, his eyes burning into her as if they could see into her soul. He took another step closer. Then another. There was now only a couple feet separating them, and Naruto's chakra exploded outward. Slash minus 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 slash. Two heads snapped upwards, and Kasami muted fear factor. Itachi sucked in a breath. What are they doing up there? His blue-skinned partner shook his head. I have no idea, but the brat sure is impressive. I have been thinking recently that his may be even bigger than yours, Itachi. Itachi looked at him. Why would you be thinking about that? Wait. His is not bigger than mine. Kasami shrugged. I really don't know Itachi. I know you pretty well, and have seen you at work, but this kid just blows me away. The Uchiha was starting to get annoyed. Kasami, I'll have you know that you have never seen me at work, and even assuming you had, it's how you use it that's important. Kasami thought for a moment. What about that girl in Hidden Rain? She did a number on you. Your control was pathetic. Itachi looked about to seizure. How do you know about that? Kasami looked at his partner oddly. I was there, remember? You. What? Kasami nodded. Since your memory appears to be shot, I took over after you fell unconscious. After just 3 rounds. Itachi was confused and horrified at the same time. He didn't remember anything like that. Kasami continued, and plus, Naruto has been getting a lot of practice recently. How do you mean? Well, he has been traveling with that sand girl for some time now, and I'd guess they have 1 or 2 hours a day to spare. Add that up and you get a whole lot of time. Itachi was almost hysterical. Kasami, they're just kids still. How could they have an hour or 2 a day for that? Kasami was starting to get nervous about his partner's mental health. We both used to train for 8 hours a day, and we weren't much older than them, Itachi. We knew Naruto's chakra reserves would grow larger than ours, and I know your chakra control is almost perfect, so there's no need to get so touchy about it. I was just joking, sheesh. Everything in Itachi's mind suddenly clicked into place. We were talking about chakra size? His partner stared at him. What did you think we were talking about, Itachi? Itachi was silent, and a look of understanding suddenly passed over Kaizam's face. The shark man burst out laughing. Itachi clenched his fists. Damn it. It's not funny, Kasami. Fine then, laugh away, I'm going to go see what's going on. Kasami followed, still snickering. Well, I now know why you got your ass kicked in that fight with that Rain Jounin last year. TSK, Itachi, picking up chicks before missions is not a good thing. Itachi swore at him from the hallway. Slash minus 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 slash. Temari found herself in a maelstrom, her senses overwhelmed completely by such huge amounts of chakra, and her skin burned from the heat. She felt like she was standing inside a hurricane, yet wasn't being lifted off. But through it all, she could still see those burning red eyes. Naruto took a final step closer, leaving only inches between them. His fangs had grown longer and his face markings darker when he reached a hand up and grabbed her shoulder. she could feel claws. How about now, Temari-san? Do you think I'm a monster now? Temari opened her mouth to answer, but nothing came out. The figure in front of her was reminiscent of uncountable similar experiences with her brother. Every time Gaara had lost control, she had run as fast and far as she could. But there was somewhere a part of her that wouldn't let her do it, and that same part of her was saying something that was very difficult to hear, but if she listened hard enough. Naruto almost jumped when Temari suddenly reached up and grabbed hold of his arm and pulled him closer. The fox boy felt his menace draining away as her eyes lost their fear and stared defiantly back into his. When she spoke, it was just above a whisper. You tried to drive me away, but why? Why do you react in anger? Temari went on, thinking aloud, you're trying to protect yourself. You're afraid I might hurt you, so you withdraw, hiding behind your facade. I spent my whole life dealing with a person who did the same thing, and every time he put up his defenses, I ran away. Naruto opened his mouth, but found himself incapable of speech as Temari slowly leaned her body onto his, still whispering, but now I'm stronger, and there's a flaw in your defense. If someone has enough courage, they can exploit it. The fox boy's mouth was dry, but he forced words out, and what is that? Your defenses won't force me away if I can get close enough to you. She took a deep breath, then pulled his body fully up against hers and kissed him. Naruto was frozen for a moment, but slowly felt that familiar and pleasant tingling run through his body. He relaxed and reached one arm round the small of her back. Over at the still open door to the roof, two figures stood watching. Kasami looked down at Itachi. Correct me if I'm wrong, but are those two making out in the eye of a chakra storm? Itachi said in acknowledgement. How long do figure it'll be before Naruto drops from chakra depletion? Itachi pulled out his watch. I'd say about 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Now. Temari gasped as Naruto suddenly went limp and the chakra around them dissipated. She quickly laid him out on the roof and put her head to his chest, and was relieved to hear slow, steady breathing. She sat up and felt a presence beside her. Kasami crouched down and hoisted Naruto over his shoulder. Well, it appears our little friend was too distracted. Temari blushed, and wasn't paying attention to his chakra reserves. It's not too bad, though, so he should be up after a night's sleep. The shark man stood up and started to head for the stairs. Itachi just stood in the middle of the roof and watched as Temari stared up at the sky. After a few minutes, she slowly walked over to him. You, she said, have killed a lot of people. Itachi nodded. Temari looked down at her feet. I want you to tell me why. I want to know why you kill people. Itachi's expression didn't change. Why do you wish to know? Because I am a Missing-Nin. But I don't understand you people yet. Temari looked to Naruto's unconscious form, held by Kasami like a sack of potatoes. I don't understand yet. But I want to. Slash minus 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 slash. The Dark Avenger stood atop a building, his various minions surrounding him. In his right hand, he clutched a newspaper, and he seemed relatively lost in thought. His foremost minion stepped forward, the sound forehead protector he wore glinting in the light. So, what are we going to do? The Avenger let his gaze sweep over the pitiful remains of a once great military. We have no choice. I will not allow the last of Orochimaru-sama's legacy to be destroyed by Konoha scum. The assembled shinobi nodded, and collectively vanished, the only trace that anyone had been there being the newspaper that slowly drifted to the ground. A gust of wind blew over the building, causing the paper to unroll, revealing the headline. Uchiha Sasuke captured. Execution imminent. Slash minus 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 slash. The next day, Naruto lay in bed, happily eating warm ramen when he heard arguing outside the room. Itachi burst into the room, followed by his partner. Kasami was looking very conflicted. Itachi, You can't just pull shit like this. What is the council going to say? Itachi stopped dead. Screw the council. Screw our mission. You can tell those old bums whatever you want. I have to do this. Naruto looked from one to the other, noodles still hanging from his mouth. What's happened? Slash minus 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 slash. Temari returned to the hotel just in time to hear Naruto bellow. What? You're kidding. She rushed into the room and found everyone else sitting around the small round side table. Itachi was speaking. I'm quite serious. I didn't spare my little brother all those times just to watch him get killed for coming after me. Both Kasami and Naruto were looking at him incredulously, their hands simultaneously tapping on the hilts of their swords out of nervous habit. Itachi just glared at them. Why do you two care so much anyway? They both looked at him as if he were dumb. We're going with you. The Uchiha blinked, started to shake his head, when Naruto cut in. Now, either we can have a long painful argument ending with you agreeing to our coming along, or you could just say yes now. Itachi sighed. Fine. Temari started waving her hands in the air. What? What are we doing? Naruto looked up at her. We're doing exactly what I was hoping to never do again. We're going back to Konoha to stop the bastard from getting himself killed. She turned to Kasami. Translation. He hefted same Hada. Uchiha Sasuke has been captured and is headed for execution. It looks like we're going to save him. Temari looked skeptical. We are going to take on a whole village of people to save one person? 4 of us. All 3 S-class Nukenin stared, and Naruto nodded. Well. Yeah. Is there a problem with that? She looked at the faces around her and sighed. You males are all freaks. I suppose now we need to start getting ready. Can you two get all your stuff in less than 30 minutes? The 2 Akatsuki nodded and left the room, Itachi grabbing his guitar as he went out the door. Once they were alone, Temari flopped down on the bed next to Naruto and leaned up against him, allowing him the space to slide an arm around her waist. They hadn't spoken since the day before, but there was only the slightest bit of awkwardness between them. Naruto needed to break the ice somehow, so naturally, he just went for the first thing that popped into his head. You seem to be getting along with Itachi and Kasami today. What brought on this change? Temari was only slightly annoyed at his choice of topic, but just shook her head. We were up late last night talking. We played the question game. The question game. Yeah, all 3 of us sat in a circle and took turns asking someone else a question which they have to answer. It really helped me get used to them, and they're kind of amusing in their own way. Mildly entertained at the thought of Kasami and Itachi playing slumber party games, Naruto grinned and laid his head back on the pillow. Actually, Temari said, the game might have gone on longer, but Itachi and Kasami got into a little spat. Naruto grinned wider. Do tell. Well, it was Kaizam's turn to ask, and he suddenly got a sneaky look on his face. I don't remember exactly, but his question had something to do with you and Wang size. Itachi almost killed him. Naruto laughed for a minute, and then fell slowly quiet, so the 2 of them lay in silence, content to just hold each other. Chapter 19, Dead Man Walking. Temari looked at her legs. Just months ago, her legs had been well sculpted, but a bit thin. Currently, she looked to be able to crush a rhinoceros with them. Why were her legs gaining so much muscle, you ask? She glared at the 3 people in front her. We have been running for 20 freaking hours, we need to take a break. To her great chagrin, Naruto didn't even look tired as he looked back at her. So? We don't know when the execution is going to be, we need to move fast. She glared. Listen, unlike the rest of you, I do not have unlimited stamina, and I need to whoa. Her tirade was cut off as Naruto suddenly stopped, whipped his sword to Itachi, and grabbed her as she flew past, hoisting her onto his back and continuing on. The Uchiha absent-mindedly grabbed Sarakiri out of the air and leaned it against his shoulder as he ran. It took Temari a moment to realize why she was still moving, and she poked Naruto's head. You do understand that if this were any other situation, I would kick your ass for pulling a stunt like that. Naruto just smirked. But we're in this situation, so don't complain unless you want to run again. Temari just grumbled and watched the world pass her by. Slash minus 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 slash. Haruno Sakura stood in front of the door, her heart beating fiercely. Kakashi and Lee stood beside her for moral support, and she took a step forward and slowly turned the handle. When the door swung open, a 10x10-foot room was revealed, with no windows and only a single light bulb. Within the room a single figure was strapped to the far wall, his mouth covered with a metal mask that prevented movement or speech, his limbs separately held to the wall by leather belts, and his fingers tied together with thread so as not to allow the use of hand seals. He looked as if he were crucified against the wall, and Sakura felt the bile rise in her throat at the analogy. He had indeed been crucified, by the Hokage, by the Konoha Council, and by the general populace who had once loved him. Sasuke slowly looked up as the door opened, the light stinging his unaccustomed pupils. The only parts of him that could move were his eyes, so he took full advantage of them to examine his visitors. Sakura walked slowly into the room and looked at who had once been the love of her life. She knew everything he had done, yet she still could not hold back her tears at seeing him like this. They traveled silently down her face as she walked right up to him and slowly reached up a hand to touch his face. "Look at you, Sasuke-kun. Is this what you wanted?" She dropped her hand and looked at the ground. "The press love you, only two survivors of a clan, and they're both S-class, Missing-Nins. Talk of cursed blood is all over the tabloids, and people eat it up. I try to believe that somehow all of this is just a big mistake. You, Naruto. But then I go meet with my new team and realize it's real, it's all horribly real." Sasuke suddenly gained new light in his eyes and tried to say something through his gag. "Umph. Fat appendi uakruo." Sakura looked back to Kakashi, who nodded carefully, and she reached to remove Sasuke's mask. Once the gag and hunk of metal over his face was removed, the Uchiha stretched his neck and repeated, "What happened to Naruto?" Sakura laughed bitterly, "You don't know? He left almost right after you did. A hunter team was sent after him, but no one will tell me what happened to him. I don't even know if Naruto is dead or alive." Sasuke just gaped. He would have figured that Naruto leaving Konoha would be about as likely as Iruka dating Anko, or Rock Lee shaving his eyebrows, or Itachi coming to save him from execution. Sasuke shook his head to clear this train of thought, and wondered where those odd similes had come from, but suddenly noticed Lee outside the door to the room. Where there had once been two large dark proud eyebrows on the green beast's face, there was just smooth skin. Sasuke shivered. Slash minus 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 slash. Uchiha Itachi was running for his life. Not literally, of course, since very few things, nothing, in fact, had ever made him truly run for his life. To be accurate, he was running in hopes of avoiding fan thwopage. That is, being thwooped with a fan. A rather large fan. After 3 days of straight running, it had been announced by way of newspaper that Sasuke's execution would take place in 2.5 weeks, plenty of time to get to Konoha. Needless to say, a certain girl with very blistered feet was out for blood. Unfortunately for Temari, Itachi was not just strong, he was very fast. She growled as she smashed another tree trunk in half. It was rather obvious that she had a snowball's chance in hell of actually hitting him, but the destruction was therapeutic. Naruto and Kasami just watched semi-amusedly from the sidelines, adding the occasional "ooh, close one," or "you almost got him there." This went on for about 6 minutes, then Temari's blisters caught up with her and she collapsed onto her knees, glaring at Itachi just for good measure. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash 13 days later slash minus 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 slash. Tsunade stood atop her tower, holding the execution plans in her hand. She had no doubts that someone would try to free the condemned Uchiha, she just wasn't sure who yet. She worried about this new killer, the one called the Dark Avenger, who reeked of hidden sound. All his targets were Leaf affiliated in some way, and the various methods of killing struck a chord in her that reminded her all too much of her snake-like ex-teammate. All of Sasuke's friends and associates were under 24/7 ambu surveillance. This included Kakashi, who was the only one so far to notice his watchers, but no suspicious activity had been observed. She also worried about more powerful forces from outside the village, trying to take advantage of the distraction as the majority of Konoha would attend the execution. The populace, having been denied any information about Naruto, or as they called him, the demon, wanted to see at least one traitor die. It never failed to disgust Tsunade that such common people could be so bloodthirsty, but she had no choice in Sasuke's fate. The least she could do was make sure nothing else happened. The greatest threat would be a task force of ex-sound nins who penetrated the walls and made a full-scale rescue attempt. If that happened, people would die in large numbers, no matter which side won. Her main priority would be making sure there was a solid perimeter around the stage where the execution would take place. The boy had chosen death by fire jutsu, which was the most painful, but also most honorable, showing he had no fear. Tsunade thought it was rather fitting in a bitterly ironic way. She was worrying like mad over everything, as her gut told her something big was going to go down in 4 days, so she would have to do her best and pray. Across town, Sabaku no Gara sat on the roof of building and stared off into the sky. Slash minus 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 slash. The Dark Avenger was dressed all in black. Black shoes, black pants, and a black high-collar shirt. If not for the sound forehead protector he wore around his head, one might easily mistake him for a priest. He pushed his glasses up on his nose as he carefully looked over the paltry forces he had at his command. He had very few illusions about his chance of success, but he was determined to make no mistakes. He let his mind ponder the question of how to convince the guards to let them in. Tsunade had mostly likely closed the border, and he would have to be very sly to convince the guard that he needed to get into the village. Unfortunately, Jounin would most likely be the ones guarding the entrance, so his ploy would likely fail. They were only hours from Konoha, and his team was prepping. They were infiltrating as journalists, making a long and perilous journey to the village in hopes of getting a few minutes to speak with the condemned man. However, despite the clever guys, even they were allowed into the village, his odds of actually getting a chance to speak with Sasuke were essentially zero. The Dark Avenger sighed and pinched his nose. The more he thought about it, the more he realized that he was just screwed. Slash minus 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 slash. Itachi calmly set his bag of Pocky on the ground and examined the scene before him. Naruto and Temari were seated on the ground, each holding a small number of cards, and they seemed to be oblivious to his presence. As he observed their play, there were many questions plaguing the mind of Uchiha Itachi. Where did that ominous music that always followed him around come from? Why did God make the platypus? Why isn't the number 11 pronounced 21? Why was Temari wearing his clothes? Being as sharp as it was, his mind quickly and efficiently prioritized these questions, deciding that the last was the most urgent. He made his presence known in the camp, but neither player looked up from their cards, so Itachi cleared his throat. "Excuse me, Temari-san, why are you wearing my clothing?" Temari didn't seem to hear him, so it was Naruto who responded. "Strip poker is no fun when you only wear 5 articles of clothing, and we have very few extra clothes of our own, so we borrowed some of yours." Itachi felt a headache coming on. "Did it ever occur to you that I might not want you wearing my clothes?" Temari cursed, removing one of her socks while Naruto dealt another hand. "No, it didn't, and besides, I'm wearing Kaisam's. You and Temari happen to be similar in size, so she got all yours. Lucky for me Kasami has better taste." Itachi was about to respond when Kasami walked past him and tossed their groceries at the base of a tree, so, the shark man inquired, "Who's winning?" The Uchiha twitched. Seeing Itachi's volatility rising, Naruto grinned, "You'll get your stuff back as soon as Temari loses." It was Temari's turn to get annoyed, and her hit me was almost a growl. She was losing, and she knew it. Her family had never been fans of blackjack, preferring go fish. Resigning himself to his fate, Itachi sat down next to Naruto and awaited the inevitable, and said inevitable came exactly 19 minutes and 47 seconds later. Reduced to just her net shirt and undergarments, Temari glared, "If you think I'm taking off anymore, you can go, bleep, with your, bleep, while, bleeping yourself." Itachi calmly stood and collected his personal effects from the pile of clothing, then went to his tent, not forgetting his recently bought, weak supply of Pocky. He left behind a redressing Temari, who was annoyed and mildly embarrassed, Kasami, who was amused but felt slightly cheated, Kyuubi inside Sarai-Kirite, who felt much the same way as Kasami, and Naruto, who really had no idea what he was feeling. This clash of moods caused an odd nervous tension for a few minutes until Naruto got bored and started to gather sticks for a fire. Soon, Temari and Kasami both started silently helping, and the food for supper was soon sizzling away. Unfortunately, Kasami always felt the need to have the last word, and after almost 20 minutes of silence, he spoke up, "But you know, Temari-san, you really shouldn't start things you're not willing to finish." His blue face split into another grin as a thrown kunai nicked his ear. Slash minus 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 slash. Late that night, while everyone slept, Itachi suddenly sat up in his bag and turned to his partner, Ni, Kasami. "Why do you think God made the platypus?" Wah. Kasami blinked sleepily. "Damn it, Itachi, go to sleep." Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus 4 days later, day of the execution slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Sakura again stood in front of that door, that horrible door. It was 11:25 and Sasuke's charred body would fall to the ground at exactly 12:01. She wasn't planning on being there to watch, but had been given the right to be the one to give him his last meal. She was not alone, but was accompanied by 2 full squads of Anbu, who would remain outside the door in case an escape attempt was made. The door slid silently open and Sakura slowly stepped into the room carrying a tray of food. For his final meal, Sasuke had asked for nothing more than a bowl of chicken, fried rice, and a glass of water. She carefully closed the door behind her and set the tray on the ground. Her hand reached up and undid each of the 5 straps holding the Uchiha to the wall, and he almost collapsed on her as the final restraint was removed. After a moment, he regained his composure and managed to sit on the ground while Sakura undid his mask and untied the string holding his fingers together. They were almost completely silent as Sakura carefully placed the food in front of him, and he started to eat. It tore at her how weak he looked. He had lost a lot of weight, making his cheekbones more defined, and his arms had lost the muscular look she had liked so much. She felt shallow as these thoughts passed through her mind, but the gaunt form before her was nothing like the confident but silent boy she had developed a crush on all those years ago. He looked up at her and Sakura noticed that his hair was unkempt, had grown longer, making him look more wild. When he spoke, his voice was scratchy and harsh. "Thank you for this, Sakura." She had promised herself she wouldn't cry again, yet the tears started to flow. "Don't thank me, Sasuke-kun. Not now." The Uchiha looked her over carefully. "I have a request, one final thing I would like you to do for me." She smiled and wiped the tears from her eyes. "You know I'd do anything for you, Sasuke-kun." He looked up at the roof of his cell. "I want you to be there at noon today. I want you to promise that, no matter what, you won't look away." Sakura didn't know what to say, but she couldn't refuse him, so she nodded mutely. "Good," he smiled, and then went back to silently eating. Slash minus 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 slash. Tsunade stood overlooking the crowd. It did indeed look as if most of the population of Konoha had shown up, and the training field they were using was almost filled. It was 11:53. In just seconds, the prisoner would make his appearance. Suddenly, the ground shook, and as Tsunade's eyes widened, spouts of flame could be seen shooting upward all over the village. A jounin dropped down in front of her. No need to be alarmed, Swan-sama. It appears that your guess was correct. A group of nins were discovered in the village less than 8 minutes ago, but have been already disposed of. It appears they plan to use the distraction of the explosives to surprise and overpower Sasuke's guards. The leader is still alive. What shall we do with him? The Hokage wiped sweat from her forehead. We can delay for a minute or two, bring him here. She then turned to calm the crowd. Slash minus 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 slash. The Dark Avenger felt a defeat bitterer than any he had experienced before. After succeeding in so many ways, they had been caught at the last minute. His few remaining supporters were dead, and he was being dragged before the Hokage. The Jounin holding him pulled him through the masses of people and out into the open. He was shoved forward, and Tsunade regarded him critically. So, she said, you're the one who planned all this. The Dark Avenger shows himself at last. Did you chose the name Dark Avenger, or was it something the newspapers gave you? Well, Kabuto. The silver-haired medic nin spat at the Hokage's feet. I have nothing to say to you. Tsunade shrugged. Okay then, I'll deal with you as soon as we're done with Sasuke. Kabuto gnashed his teeth at his own helplessness, but could do nothing as the Jounin dragged him off to one side. Tsunade raised an arm and the masses parted. At the other end of the field was the prisoner, his hands and feet chained, accompanied by Shizune and 3 Anbu. Shizune stepped forward and, steadying herself, took a deep breath and called out, "Dead man walking." The grim procession walked slowly forwards, the Uchiha paying no attention to the hordes of people on either side of him. He arrived at his destination, a cleared part of the field where Tsunade herself stood. He was walked over to a thick log and was chained to it, his Anbu guards making sure he was secure. Tsunade walked up to him. Any last words? A set of dark eyes rose to look at her. Actually, I'd like a stick of Pocky. Tsunade blinked. Okay. She turned around. Anyone have a box of Pocky? A man in the crowd raised his arm. I do. Here. He threw it forward and Shizune rushed to catch it, before running back to pass it to Tsunade. The Hokage pulled out a stick and put it in the prisoner's mouth. Good? He nodded, so Tsunade gestured, and the people moved back. The guard Anbu got out of the way, and Shizune jogged back a bit. Tsunade had decided to perform the execution herself, and once everyone was clear of the blast area, she started her little speech. You Uchiha Sasuke have been found, beyond a shadow of a doubt, to be guilty of high treason against Konoha. The punishment for this crime is death, and that punishment shall now be inflicted. Tsunade flashed through hand seals, Gaokakyu no Jutsu. She inhaled and breathed out a huge stream of flame that consumed the wooden log as well as the figure chained to it. She continued the technique for a full half-minute. Unnoticed in the masses of people, Haruno Sakura was crying, her tears reflecting the light as she forced herself to watch. Kabuto fought futilely against those holding as he watched the last of Orochimaru's legacy go up in smoke. Itachi Kakashi was also watching closely, but for a different reason. Something about this whole thing felt odd. Tsunade completed the jutsu and looked at her handiwork. The still burning body was on the ground, as the flames had melted the chains and incinerated the log. She motioned for the 3 Anbu and Shizune to join her as she approached the corpse. She had to personally confirm the Uchiha was indeed dead. Kakashi knew something was wrong. All his instincts screamed at him, something was setting him off, something he was feeling and should be remembering. He reached to pull up his forehead protector. Tsunade reached down to check the Uka's pulse when 3 objects came hurling from the sky, almost hitting the guard Anbu, who neatly sidestepped. She turned to back look just in time to see the Anbu reach and grab the handles of the 2 swords and battle fan embedded in the ground. Kakashi's eyes widened in horror at what his Sharingan revealed, but he knew even as he started to yell a warning that he was too late. One of the Anbu vaulted over the handle of his sword to deliver a sharp kick to the side of Shizune's head, and Naruto, Temari and Kasami tore off their Anbu masks and turned outward, forming a circle around Tsunade and the body. Sinead suddenly felt her wrist in an iron grip and looked down in horror to see the corpse holding onto her, continuing to burn as it rose up and spoke, "That hurt." As the not-so-dead body's eyes met hers, Sinead only managed one word. Nangekyu. Chapter 20, Countdown, Part 1. From the Diary of Uchiha Itachi. Entry number 465. There are 69 hours until the execution. Contrary to what many would claim, I feel a full range of emotions. Anger, joy, sadness, envy, regret, lust, all these are familiar to me. Yet in my current situation, I find myself incapable of describing how I feel. Perhaps the only way to help you understand is to describe my position in as simple terms as I can, allowing you to draw your own conclusions. I am currently in a place I don't want to be, with 3 other people who don't want to be here either. Everyone around us is a potential enemy, and as we are in the middle of a large village, there are a great many potential enemies. I have led us here to rescue someone who will most assuredly try to kill me, and or my companions, at least once or twice during the course of the rescue, and this is while simultaneously fighting off an army of shinobi who will be very pissed off at us. People have been calling me crazy for years, only here and now do I start to consider whether they might have a point. Slash minus 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 slash minus. Entry number 466. Only 44 hours left. I find that as the rescue attempt draws nearer, I feel my need to write down. My thoughts grow even stronger, and I am not foolish enough to delusion myself as to the reason. It is entirely possible that, in the course of this mission, I will die. If that happens, I oddly enough feel the need to leave at least some piece of myself behind, so without further ado, I give you my philosophy for life. The thing I find most perplexing about the human race is their obsession with why. It has generally been my observation that often people pay more attention to why something was done than what was actually done. An excellent example of this theory being, of course, my claim to fame, the so-called Uchiha massacre. Let us say, hypothetically, that I killed off my pathetic clan for noble reasons. It's not true, but that's why it's hypothetical. Due to the advantage of our Sharingan, a member of the Uchiha clan used to kill an average of 12 people in a lifetime. Let us say, to account for the old and middle-aged shinobi, who have already killed a number of people, and the babies who killed none, that every person I killed would have themselves killed an average of 6 people had they lived. Exactly 47 people died by my hand that day, another 11 died due to friendly fire, and based on our math so far, in killing them, I have saved 235 lives. Expanding this notion, if one looks at the people I kill even today, most of them are the large stupid rude ones, the ones who tend towards irrational violence. One could view it as my doing the world a service, as there are probably hundreds more people who are only alive today because I removed those who would have killed them. If this had been my intention all along, to save lives, people would view me very differently than they do. The truth is, I killed the foolish clan into which I was born to test them and myself. I found them lacking, so they died. I kill people today, not because they are evil or crude or unjust, but because they annoy me. It just so happens that these traits are often found on the same people. Looking at it statistically, I have been doing unintentional good and saving lives my whole life. If people judged my actions just on my results, I should get a medal. The thing is, people don't think about the unexpected benefits of the people whom I happen to kill dying. They just look at why I did it. I don't really care if they judge me, but it's astonishing, because that way of thinking implies that the result of an event is different, because of the intentions that led up to it, an idea that is completely absurd. I need look no further than the justice system, where murder is different from manslaughter, as if killing someone by accident makes them less dead than if you meant to kill them. This magnificent self-delusion is to protect the people from what we all know on some level: killing is killing, and death is death. No matter the reason why. A shinobi's brain cannot acknowledge this, because it would mean that the third Hokage was the same type of person as Orochimaru was. In an interesting bit of irony, the snake and third had probably killed about the same number of people when they died. People have speculated endlessly about how people like me can live with ourselves, and the answer is simply thus. Good and evil are subjective. Justified and unjustified are subjective. Wise and foolish are subjective. But strength is not. Rather than make up thin excuses for my actions, immersing myself in the justification of why this or that was done, I simply do what I want to. It is power that allows me to live this way outside the borders of society, and it is for that reason that I seek more power. I don't expect anyone to completely understand these words I have written. I don't understand them fully myself. But even if whoever is reading this dismisses my ideas as crazy, which you inevitably will, I hope they are at least remembered. Slash minus 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 slash. Itachi sat back and reread his most recent entry. It was unusual of him to be so blatant, even if he was just writing in a diary. Honesty did not come easily to a man who led a life of secrets. It was true, he mused, what he had said in his second last sentence. He had sat down intending to try writing out his thoughts, but what had come out was something he didn't fully comprehend. He closed the small black book with a snap and slid it into his pocket before rising up from his bench and stretching his shoulders. He hadn't planned to writing for so long, and he had a sneaking suspicion that he was late. He grabbed up what few belongings he had brought with him and left the park, striding through the streets of Konoha with confidence. Slash minus 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 slash. Temari leaned against a lamppost, glancing around nervously. Itachi was 15 minutes late, and for a moment, she wondered if someone hadn't recognized him. This thought was dismissed as soon as it came, for even in the unlikely event of Itachi being recognized, he wouldn't have gone down without one hell of a fight, and everything had been peaceful all morning. But it didn't stop her from worrying. She was just about to leave without him when she spotted him turning the corner 2 blocks away. A minute passed, and when Itachi was just passing her, Temari started walking with the throng of people in the streets, one more drop of water in a stream. A few minutes later, they were bouncing through the forest. It had been decided that Kasami and Naruto would stay behind in camp, due to Naruto being a familiar face in Konoha and Kasami just looking funny. This meant that Temari and Itachi had spent most of a day, gathering information with regards to Sasuke's execution. A mind-numbing activity, as most people knew the same things, so one could spend hours listening to the same rumors and learn almost nothing of value. Needless to say, after a day of droning gossip, both shinobi were ready to relax. Just a few feet from the edge of camp, Itachi stopped and suddenly grabbed Temari's arm. Look! Concealed in the grass was a wire, but it took Temari a moment to see it. Naruto set traps. Itachi shook his head. Kasami. Even I almost missed the wire, and Naruto isn't that good at being subtle. Both carefully stepped over the wire and started towards the tents, only to feel something pull at their legs. Temari looked down. Oh, crap. A huge log came hurling out of the upper foliage, but Itachi and Temari watched in a kind of trance as it missed them by more than 10 feet. They followed it with their eyes as it swung into the brush to the left of them and heard the log hit something with a thump, click. The thump was normal, but the click had Itachi mildly concerned. 5 large bolts were fired into the air, the log obviously having set off another trap, but again, none of the bolts seemed to be aimed at where Itachi and Temari had set off the initial tripwire. But as each of them landed, Itachi heard more of that mechanical click. This went on for a whole 20 seconds more, and it seemed that every type of trap in existence had been wired up in a few hundred square feet of forest, each set to trigger the next ones. The grand finale was when 3 kunai traps were set off, each kunai bearing an explosive tag. They were angled so they hit a tree trunk at 3 different spots, and one large explosion later, the tree toppled slowly towards Temari and Itachi, who stepped out of the way, allowing it to fall between them. There was one more click. The falling tree had set off the initial tripwire that he had so carefully stepped over, and he found himself hanging upside down. Needless to say, Itachi was not amused. Unfortunately, everyone else seemed to be. Temari was at least trying to hold in her giggles, whereas Naruto and Kasami emerged from one of the tents laughing openly. Determined to retain his dignity, Itachi wordlessly cut himself down, landing on his feet with all the grace of a cat. After slowly examining himself, unwrinkling every wrinkle, and straightening every hair, he languidly stretched his shoulders, took a few deep breaths, and turned on the glare. There were no fear stimulus used for the glare, nor was his Sharingan activated. In fact, the glare was so effective because it showed people just how frightening he could be, even without any of his ninjutsu and genjutsu. When he spoke, his voice was positively glacial. Now that you've alerted every shinobi within 10 miles as to our presence, I suggest you get ready to go. You will explain this incident as we travel. As the four of them bounced through the treetops, Naruto was jovially describing the morning's events. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash flashback slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Kasami looked up at the sky. Naruto looked up at the sky. They were bored. Very bored. Naruto suddenly sat up. Know what's fun? Dominoes are fun. Kasami rolled his eyes. Oh good, I'll pull some out of my ass and we can set them up. A tad sarcastic are we? Didn't you ever set up huge patterns of dominoes to knock over? The shark man snorted. Why would I want to do something like that? Because it's fun, seeing if you can line everything up perfectly. As I mentioned before, we don't exactly have any dominoes. Upon hearing these words, Naruto suddenly got an idea. Kasami. Isn't it possible to set a trap to trigger another trap? A grin slowly split his Kaisam's blue face. Why yes. It's quite a common tactic, actually. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash and flashback slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Naruto smiled at the memory. So, as I'm sure you've guessed, things just kind of snowballed at that point, and soon we were using up all our trap kits. As they continued away from their old campsite, Itachi fought the urge to start yanking at his hair. Back in said campsite, a group of leaf Shuyunin dropped to the ground. The leader scratched his head in bewilderment. It looked as though every type of trap in existence had been set off in just a few hundred square feet of woodland. He groaned. It was going to take weeks to sort this out. Slash minus 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 slash. Later that night, they sat around a campfire exchanging information. Itachi was the pseudo-leader of the mission, so he spoke first. Okay, people, we have a few major problems. We need to get in while remaining undetected, stop my stupid brother from being fried, and get out with everyone still possessing all their body parts. Naruto considered for a moment. Getting in shouldn't be a problem. The village doesn't have the resources to guard all the walls, but the execution stage will be packed with ambu, so we'll need to make our move before the execution itself. Itachi wagged his finger. Yes and no, I have an idea that's just crazy enough to work, but it doesn't account for the third problem of how to escape. Everyone just looked at him expectantly, and Itachi realized he was supposed to elaborate. Okay, it goes like this. The first thing we would need to do would be to nab 4 Anbu and take their uniforms, thus allowing us to enter into Sasuke's cell. Since any discrepancy in the number of people coming and going would be immediately noticed, I will take my brother's place. Kasami held up a hand. Wait a sec, here, Itachi. Even assuming we could pull off the deception, how is you being dead better than your brother being dead? Itachi had to yet again sigh at how his usually sharp-minded partner could be so dense sometimes. I'm not planning on dying, Kasami. Since it's death by fire jutsu, I can use a Materasu to protect myself from the flames. It was Temari's turn to raise her hand. Correct me if I'm way off base here, but wouldn't you still then be surrounded by an army of shinobi? Well, yes. But since the Hokage will have to confirm the death herself, I should be able to take her as a hostage. Naruto started to move, but Itachi grabbed his wrist. Okay, you don't need to raise your hand, just talk. The boy lowered his arm sheepishly. Even assuming you managed to take Tsunade hostage, the stalemate wouldn't last for long. Konoha would quickly organize a strategic attack, and even you can't hold back a village. Itachi scratched his head. I know, that part is still a problem. Naruto felt, for the first time in some while, a stirring at the back of his mind. Give me a second, guys, the bastard fox wants to chat. Naruto allowed his mind to fall into the dreamscape. What do you want? The chibi fox was wearing a smile. I've been doing a little eavesdropping on your conversation, and I know of a way to solve your problem, brat, or rather, the Ukka's problem. Naruto's reacted the same way he did to anything the fox said, with skepticism. How exactly could you help solve our problem? The chibi fox's smile darkened to an evil grin, which, it should be noted, looked very odd on his rather small body. What would you say to completely immobilizing all of Konoha for 15 minutes? If I believed that was possible, which I don't, I would say, what would you want in return? Nothing, brat, this is personal. I just want to see the look on the Hokage's face when the lot of you walk out from under her helpless nose. Okay, I can see you wanting revenge, but I still don't understand how you could immobilize that many people. Okay, the fox amended, maybe not all of Konoha, but all the shinobi at least. And also, note, I didn't say I was the one who would do this. I just said there was a way to do it. Naruto instinct said something was wrong about this, and who other than you would have even near enough power to pull off that kind of jutsu? // 10 minutes later // Temari shook her head. That's insane. Kasami looked like a child with a new toy. I think it sounds fun. Itachi tapped his finger on a kunai. We would all be betting our lives on this, but I think it's our best shot. Temari continued the head-shaking motion. You are all nuts. Naruto tallied everything up. Okay, that's 3 yes votes, and 1 you're all crazy vote. We're going for it. The Uchiha glanced at the rising moon. Are you going to meet him tonight? Naruto shook his head. Kyuubi said I should be well rested. Apparently any mistake or oversight while talking to him might get me eaten. Then I'm guessing, Kasami said, amused by the mental image of Naruto being gobbled up, that we should probably get to bed soon. Naruto nodded, probably. Temari rubbed her head. Remind me again why I put up with you fruitcakes and your ideas. Naruto stroked his chin. Our devilish good looks. Itachi tilted his head. Our razor-sharp wit. Kasami held up a hot dog he had been cooking over the fire. Our masterful culinary ability. The sand girl resisted the urge to throttle something. The question was rhetorical. They all watched as she stomped out of camp. Then Naruto started to get ready for bed. Itachi, could you play something? The Uchiha silently nodded, and took out his guitar, playing a soothing melody while Naruto drifted off and Kasami ate his hot dog. // I was late that night when Temari crept back into camp, sliding into her sleeping bag as silently as possible. She was feeling proud of her sneakiness when she saw Naruto's bag shift and his head emerge. That was a long walk, he remarked dryly. I had to blow off some steam. It bothers me when you don't take my concerns seriously. We're all concerned, but Itachi was right, there's no other options. We either have to try using Kyuubi's idea, or let Sasuke die, and the latter is not an option. I owe Itachi at least that much. But still. Then how about you come with me tomorrow? Then you can judge for yourself whether this will work. If anything, Temari looked even more disturbed. You want me to go with you? Yeah, why not? There were a million reasons why not, but Temari knew that most of them were irrational. The fundamental idea disturbed her, but she had never been one to back off. Fine then, she said resolutely, I will. // next morning 23 hours until the execution // Naruto took a deep breath and slammed his sword into a cliff wall, watching as it sunk in, forming a black portal. He looked at Temari. Ready? She nodded shakily, and they walked in together. Temari had the momentary sensation of being immersed in cold water, but then it was gone, and she found herself quite dry and in total darkness. The only thing she could perceive was Naruto, and that was only due to his breathing, which she realized annoyedly was much calmer than her own. Naruto started to move as if guided by some other sense, and she followed silently. They walked for what could have been 5 minutes or 5 hours. Temari found her sense of time was skewed. The first sign they had reached their destination was that Naruto stopped moving, but she soon felt another presence, one far more terrifying. Naruto bowed low and broke the silence for the first time since they passed through the black portal. I am Fushikao Naruto and have come to seek aid. I humbly ask the name of the one who stands before me. Temari heard what seemed to her to be the rustle of a chain, and suddenly noticed that there was now a small bit of light coming from somewhere, and she fought as all her instincts told her to flee. Towering above them stood a canine form, its glowing red eyes being the source of light. Its body appeared to be made of nothing more than dark blue smoke, but it was completely bound by chains, preventing the great beast from moving much in any direction. There were 8 pegs embedded in the ground surrounding the creature, and 5 of them had chains attached, while 3 more chains hung loose, obviously having once been attached to the 3 other pegs. The 2 humans studied the demon as it also studied them. When it finally spoke, its voice was deep and echoing. Never have I met a human who was so polite, and you are brave to enter a place like this, so let it be known that the greater demon Fenrir will hear your request. Chapter 21, Countdown, Part 2. Naruto slowly raised his eyes to meet the restrained demon's gaze. I am in need of a binding jutsu, large enough to restrain a full army, and was told the only place I would find one capable of such a feat was here. The boy was careful to keep his voice polite and neutral, as from the looks of things, he suspected binding jutsus might be a bit of a sore point with this particular monster. Ah! One could say I have a certain affinity for sealing and binding techniques. I have had, after all, over 2,000 years in which study the most powerful of them. 2,000 years. Naruto and Temari yelled. Yes indeed, little ones, I was defeated exactly 2,378 years ago, my physical body destroyed and my spirit sealed in this pocket dimension. The jutsu was so powerful, 8 people gave their lives to imprison me, each one of them using their very essence to form the chains and attach them to my soul. No sealing technique since could begin to compare, but it was lost sometime around 1,200 years ago. Temari was finding her fear transforming into fascination, and having almost forgotten she was there. Naruto jumped when she spoke. But why would they go to so much trouble to seal you? Of all the demons I've met, you're by far the nicest. The great wolf laughed, his semi-solid form straining at his bonds as he shook with amusement. Centuries of imprisonment tend to change one's outlook on life. Before I was sealed, I was no different than the 9-tailed whelp, who was the one who sent you here if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen him in 400 years, but his smell is still the same. Temari was oddly at ease with the demon, despite the fact that he was older than recorded history. Naruto was for anyone who could call the Kyuubi a whelp and get away with it, so he liked Fenrir too. It's true, Naruto said, that the Kyuubi sent me here, but he gave no indication of what's involved with getting your aid, what I would need to do or what your help would cost me. Well, the demon replied, the first part is easy. I can handle most of the work. But you need to weaken space so I can manifest beyond my pocket dimension. As for what my help costs, it is its own reward, as one of my chains will break. This, of course, drew Naruto's attention to said chains, 3 of which hung loose from Fenrir's body while the other 5 were still attached to the pegs in the ground. How could I break something you can't? Fenrir growled, the seal that holds me was cleverly designed. It was decided by the Council of 8 that there might come a day when my help would be needed, so to account for this, every time I help a human who requires it, one of my chains will break. Think of me as a prisoner whose sentence is reduced for doing community service. Oh, so all I need to do is open a gate when the time comes? Not so fast, little man, I haven't actually agreed to anything yet. Nothing annoys me more than rudeness, and you have done something very rude. The boy picked his brain furiously for what it could be, then almost smacked himself in the head. He grabbed Temari's arm and pulled her down into a bow with him. I have been remiss, great one. I am delighted to introduce my companion, Sabaku no Temari. Much better. I was worried for a second. I once had a nut job bring a girl here who he was going to use as a virgin sacrifice. He seemed perfectly normal until he started yelling about how he would spill blood to appease the ravenous hunger of the demon, in other words, me. I squashed him, which counted as helping the girl, so I broke a chain and ridded the world of an ass. You thought I was planning to use Temari as a sacrifice. Nah, it just makes a good story. You didn't strike me as the type of human who would waste such a cute girl. Temari blushed at the compliment. Fenrir was rather charming for a gigantic blue wolf made of smoke. Speaking of which, I was hoping that you might be able to do me a little favor, Temari-san. Naruto was being ignored and was having a minor sulking moment, but Temari was flattered. What can I do to help? Slash minus 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 slash. Itachi and Kasami stared at the black portal. If you had to guess, Itachi, how long would you say they've been in there? About an hour and a half so far. So what do you feel like doing while we wait, then? I don't know. Maybe we could play I Spy or something. Kasami looked sideways at his partner. I Spy? Yeah, the game. You know, where you say I spy with my little eye something that is and a color, then the other person has to try and figure out what the thing is. I know how to play, but why of all things would you think of that? Why not train or something? Itachi shrugged. Well, I Spy just struck me as the kind of thing people would do for long periods of time. Sometimes, I worry about you, Itachi. Slash minus 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 slash. At the precise moment, Fenrir was a very happy wolf demon. Yeah. Right there. Wait, a little higher. Temari giggled and climbed a bit higher on his neck. Though looking like nothing more than a blue haze, the demon was quite solid, and when climbed on his body felt rather like a huge sponge. She wasn't sure how long she'd been rubbing the demon's shoulders, but it was fun. Ooh. Yes, scratch the ears. Far below, Naruto was training, using the demon's interlocking network of chains like a jungle gym, bolting from one to the next. He swung around Fenrir's back leg on one of the loose chains and let go, flying through the air before landing and balancing calmly on the demon's back. We really need to get going soon. Temari looked up from her ear rubbing. Do we have to? Yes. Sadly, your friend is correct. You have little time left, but I shall be there when my aid is needed. Temari slid off the wolf's neck and jumped from his back down to the ground. She had discovered an odd sensation of power in rubbing the demon's neck, to feel a being of such power react to her every move. But Naruto was right, it was time to go. Slash minus 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 slash. I spy with my little eye something that is red. Kaizam's eyes roamed the area carefully. There weren't many things that were red. Ha! The clouds on my Akatsuki cloak. Itachi narrowed his eyes. Yes. That's right. The Uchiha wasn't currently wearing his cloak, and had figured Kasami wouldn't be smart enough to look at himself. It was now the shark man's turn. I spy with my little eye something that is. Naruto. The aforementioned boy stepped out of the portal, followed just seconds after by an unusually happy-looking Temari. Itachi glared. Where in the 9 layers of hell have you two been? Giving a greater demon a massage? But that's beside the point. He agreed to help us. All Naruto needs to do is perform some jutsu that will weaken space enough for Fenrir to manifest from his prison dimension. While Temari was talking excitedly, the gate was closing and Sarai Kirite emerging. Naruto grabbed the handle of his sword and immediately felt the Kyuubi's discontent. It was just now that it occurred to the boy that the portal had been open this whole time, and therefore Kyuubi had been holding it open the whole time. Naruto resolved to be nice to the fox for a while. So then, we ready to go kick some ass? Kasami asked. Naruto nodded. Yeah, we need to move out soon, since security will be insane the last few hours. We need to perform the switch ASAP. slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash 16 hours until the execution slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Naruto carefully tried on the Anbu uniform, noting how it stretched to fit his body. He locked the various pieces of armor into place and finally examined the mask. His looks to have been based on a bird of some variety, as uniforms had been distributed based on size. With Naruto in the hotel room was Itachi, tired from using a powerful genjutsu on a 4-man Anbu team, and Kasami, who was currently amusing himself by arranging the unconscious members of said team into compromising positions on the bed. Itachi was getting suited up next to Naruto, and Temari was changing in the bathroom. Their plan had gone almost flawlessly so far. They had spotted the Anbu who were assigned to give Sasuke his meals, and once the team split up and each headed home, Itachi, one by one, caught them in a powerful genjutsu and drugged them with enough sedative to keep them asleep for 3 days. It was a tad bit of hassle, but Naruto had requested there be as little killing as possible. It had been brought up that the Anbu might be missed at home, but Itachi had assured the rest of them it wasn't uncommon for an Anbu to be gone for days at a time without warning. Naruto clamped his final arm guard into place, but burst out laughing as he turned around. All the Anbu had been left in their underwear, but Kasami had successfully placed them on top of and around each other, so none of it was visible, and so anyone walking into the room would immediately make incorrect and rather naughty assumptions. Itachi just rolled his eyes and finished, strapping his own armor on, as Naruto and Kasami admired the Shark Man's work. A few minutes later, Kasami too was in uniform, and Naruto and Itachi were helping him make sure all his skin was covered up, since it really wouldn't do for Kasami to be recognized due to his rather odd shade of skin. Only when Itachi pulled the hood up over the back of Kaisam's head, finishing the disguise, did all 3 shinobi realize Temari hadn't left the bathroom yet. Naruto walked over and knocked. "What are you doing in there? We have to go." The doorknob turned slowly, and the bathroom door swung open equally slowly. When Temari finally did step hesitantly into the main room, reactions were varied. Itachi merely arched an eyebrow, Kasami whistled, and Naruto turned a color usually reserved for tomatoes. All the Anbu they had captured were men, but the uniforms were stretchy, so no one had predicted a problem. The uniform she had chosen did in fact fit Temari, and showed of her curves rather nicely. A bit too nicely in her opinion. "Do I really have to wear this?" Naruto just stared blankly at her, and Kasami nodded with a slightly lecherous grin, so she looked to Itachi, who considered for a moment. "I really think that one would fit you the best, Temari-san. You are the smallest, so I doubt any of us could even fit into that uniform. But I'm really not comfortable." Naruto looked up, face blazing. "You look fine." Naruto's approval helped, and Temari decided that she could put up with the constricting uniform, if just for the sake of the Uchiha brat. This resolve became harder to maintain as she started to strap her armor on, as she could feel eyes on her. She looked back up and they were all still staring at her. "Go do something else and let a girl get dressed," she snapped, and they all, including Itachi, jumped and started to get ready for the exchange. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash 12 hours until the execution slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. The 4 Nukanen slid their earpieces into place and walked perfectly in step up to the Jounin leader whose team was on guard duty. It had been decided that being the only one of them to have ever been Leaf Anbu, Itachi would do the talking. "We're here for the scheduled prisoner checkup." Itachi had explained the odd law that Konoha could not execute anyone who was sick, so exactly 12 hours before the execution, he would get a checkup. According to schedule, Itachi had taken off the man whose armor he wore. The checkup was to be done by Shizune, so the Nukanen had shown up 20 minutes before Shizune was set to arrive and would have to bluff their way through. The guard looked up boredly. "Shizune-sama is to perform that task." Itachi used his best Anbu voice, cool and in control, with just a hint of threat. "The Hokage has ordered us to perform this task, so as to relieve Shizune-sama of part of her heavy workload." The guard looked at Itachi carefully, then shrugged. "Okay then, please pass through the chakra sensor." Itachi had told them about this. It was a simple ring 10 feet high, but anyone molding any chakra at all would set off an alarm as they passed through it. The device would detect any bunshins among their group, or even the weakest of genjutsu. There were very few chakra sensors, and their manufacture was a mystery, so they were only used for the highest security. Once they had all passed through, the Jounin nodded, "You people can go do your thing, but Shizune-sama will probably redo it anyway." The first obstacle overcome, all four of them fought the urge to break into a run as they walked closer and closer to where Sasuke was being kept. Their arrival was actually rather anticlimactic as it was just a regular door, and when opened up was just a regular cell. Except for its restrained occupant. Sasuke blinked and looked up sleepily as four figures surrounded him. He figured it was just a regular visit until one of them leaned close his ear. "Listen up, bastard. We can get you out of here, but you'll need to stay cool." Recognizing the voice as Naruto's, but not really able to respond, Sasuke just hung limply in a daze as he quickly found himself quickly unbound and on the floor. During this time, Itachi had been quickly undressing, so when Sasuke did come to his senses, the first thing he consciously recognized was his brother in nothing but underwear. Not really having the energy for a full-blown angsty speech, Sasuke settled for a glare. "What are you doing here?" Itachi sighed, "Saving your ungrateful ass. Now get up and get undressed, or I'll do it for you." Sasuke again sat in a semi-stunned state, and he found his body obeying and starting to undress, even though his mind was otherwise occupied. Itachi had come to save him. Sasuke had friends from the academy, teachers who cared about him, loyal subjects from the sound, and Itachi was the one to come save him. Not only that, from the looks of things, Itachi was going to risk himself. This reality did not compute with the mental image of Itachi that Sasuke held in his mind. Sasuke was soon also in his underwear, and Naruto helped him put on the Anbu uniform his brother had been wearing, while Itachi quickly threw on Sasuke's clothes and Kasami started to strap the older Uchiha into place against the wall. Within minutes, the exchange was complete, and almost no one would ever be able to tell the difference between the two brothers. Sasuke had grown to look more like his brother as time passed, growing taller and his face thinning out. Naruto suddenly noticed a problem, and before anyone had time to react, he whipped a kunai out of his holster and pulled Itachi's hair out of its usual ponytail, and then with one quick swipe, he cut it to look like Sasuke's mid-length mop, grabbing the excess hair and shoving it into his pocket. Itachi glared at him, but they both knew it needed to be done. Naruto wanted to get Sasuke out of there before he came to his senses and tried to kill the now mostly helpless Itachi, so he grabbed him by the arm and dragged him out of the room, Temari and Kasami following quickly after. Once they were outside, Naruto again whispered into Sasuke's ear, "Listen, we are a group of Anbu who have just finished inspecting the health of Uchiha Sasuke, and we found him to be in perfect health, got it?" Sasuke nodded slowly, and all four of them strode purposefully back out of the prison until they again met the guard. Naruto stepped forward this time. "Everything is in order, and there are no complications." The Jounin shrugged again. "I figured as much." With that, the Nukanin and ex-prisoner vanished, bouncing from building to building. Naruto was leading them to their hotel, where they picked up their weapons before moving to another hotel, far away from where they had left the sleeping Anbu. Only when they were again safely within the boundaries of a private room did Naruto gesture for everyone to remove their masks, and Sasuke spent the first few minutes just examining each face as he knew all of them. Kasami was to be expected based on Itachi's presence, and Naruto he had recognized based on voice, but what Gaara's sister was doing here, the Uchiha couldn't discern. He just went on looking for a while, and the other three let him. When Sasuke finally did speak, his voice was low and carefully controlled. "I would like it if someone would tell me what's going on here." Naruto sighed. "Very long story, which you will hear eventually. Right now, we need to sleep, because we have a major mission tomorrow, and unlike you have been busy working all day. If you can't sleep, there should be some reading material in your left pocket." With that, Naruto leaned his sword against the wall, and flopped down on his bed without even bothering to take off his shoes. Kasami and Temari took a bit more time, but were soon also crawling into their first, soft beds in a long while. Sasuke sat in one of corner chairs and observed everyone in their attempts to sleep. How do you know I won't escape? Naruto opened one eye. Trust me, you won't. Sitting silently for half an hour, Sasuke soon heard snoring and moving very slowly, he worked his way over to the window. When he was just about to jump out, he felt a hand on his shoulder. I told you, stupid bastard, don't even bother. Sasuke hadn't heard the fox boy move. Naruto led Sasuke by the shoulder back to his chair and was soon again snoring happily. Leaving Sasuke to sit and do what Sasuke did best, sulk. After another 20 minutes of moping, the Uchiha grudgingly reached into his pocket and pulled out what Naruto had called reading material. It looked like a normal leather-bound notebook, and Sasuke was curious as he opened it and read the inside of the cover. The personal diary of Uchiha Ryusuke Itachi. Oddly, his first thought was that he hadn't known Itachi had a middle name. It was the kind of thing one expected to know about one's brother. It was also the kind of thing one expected to know about a person they had devoted their lives to killing, so Sasuke felt he had failed doubly. Once this rather random thought process worked its way through his mind, he pondered for a moment and turned to the first page. He really had nothing better to do, and as far as Sasuke was concerned, anything he learned about Itachi would be to his advantage, so he started to read. Slash minus 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 slash minus. Naruto lay in bed, feigning sleep. He could hear Temari snoring lightly not 10 feet away, and let his mind wander through thoughts of the sand girl. Between the arrival of Kasami and Itachi, the rushing that had followed the discovery of Sasuke's capture, he realized that he and Temari really hadn't had any time together. In fact, the last time he and Temari had a decent conversation without one of the Akatsuki around had been the incident on the rooftop almost 3 weeks ago. This bothered him, and on reflecting, he discovered that he had become oddly adapted to Temari's presence. He immersed himself in memories, remembering the times she smiled, the times she glared, and the times she threatened him with bodily harm. He remembered the threats fondly, because it was something of a joke between them, seeing as how Temari had as much chance of beating Naruto and Sarei Kirite as Neji had of winning the Mr. Personality contest. But of everything, Naruto liked it best when she smiled. It was a rare occurrence, but that just made it all the more treasured. He lost himself in the warmth of memory, but suddenly snapped out of it as he opened his eyes with a start. It was at that precise and exact moment that Naruto realized he had a major crush on Temari of the Sand. Slash minus 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 slash. The next morning's dawn found Sasuke still in that same position, reading the final diary entry. In 5 hours he had sifted through all his brother's various experiences and thoughts, and as his eyes washed over the final passage, he felt a great weight settle on him. If Sasuke took a step back from his prejudice and hate, it frightened him how much sense Itachi made. He had started reading in hopes of learning something about his enigma of an older brother, and now he wished he knew less. Sasuke had demonized his brother over a span of many years, an image Itachi had done nothing to dispute. But now as he sat in a hotel room surrounded by soon-to-be waking Nukanins, Uchiha Sasuke faced the greatest opponent of his life. He had come face to face with his brother's humanity. Sasuke was well aware that he was not one who could lecture about morality, so acknowledging that his brother was human put them on the same level, and though he still hated Itachi fervently, he found his once fanatical obsession fading with the morning's dew. Naruto started to shift and slowly opened his eyes. Bleh. It feels like I just got to sleep. What time is it? Sasuke looked out the window, about 9 a.m. Okay then, time to get out of bed. How was your night, by the way? I don't really know. I'll just say it was interesting and leave it at that. Naruto grinned. We kinda need your help today, are you up for it? The Uchiha snorted. I am at the very least one who pays his debts. Besides, it wouldn't count for anything if Itachi dies because I was too weak to protect myself. That would contradict the point of killing him. Naruto grinned wider. Alrighty then, the plan goes like this. slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash 35 minutes before the execution slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Itachi looked up wearily as the pink-haired girl walked slowly into his cell carrying a tray of food. He knew from Naruto's stories that this could be no one but Sakura, the girl with the obsessive crush on his brother. He watched passively as she undid his bindings and set some food before him, and he silently started to eat. Itachi had to say he was annoyed at his brother, because although he liked fried rice as much as the next person, asking for it for a final meal was just lame. And water. Water. If Itachi had to pick a final meal, he would ask for a 30 ounces steak, marinated in honey taken from the hive at the top of a redwood and gathered by 3 virgins on the night of a full moon. As a side dish, he would demand truffles from grass country mixed with escargot from water country. Just to be excessive, he would top it all off by demanding red wine aged for at least 150 years. But his brother had asked for fried rice and water. It was only after a minute or two of mental grumbling did Itachi pay much attention to his pink-haired guest, and he felt a tug on what was left of his heartstrings. Deciding to at least be polite, he looked up at her. "Thank you for this, Sakura." The reaction he got was rather the opposite from what he expected. She started to cry. "Don't thank me, Sasuke-kun. Not now." It looked to Itachi like this girl was even more shaken up than expected at the thought of Sasuke's execution, so the older Uchiha decided she should see the escape. "I have a request, one final thing I would like you to do for me." She smiled and wiped the tears from her eyes. "You know I do anything for you, Sasuke-kun." He looked up at the roof his cell. "I want you to be there at noon today. I want you to promise that, no matter what, you won't look away." Sakura didn't know what to say, but she couldn't refuse him, so she nodded mutely. Itachi wasn't sure what came over him at that moment, but somehow the thought of the joy seeing Sasuke's escape would bring the girl in front of him brought a small, but rare smile to Itachi's face. He admonished himself as he went back to eating. If word of this ever got out, someone might mistake him for a good person. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash 7 minutes before the execution slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Naruto, Kasami, Temari and Shizune stood surrounding Itachi, waiting for the signal to proceed. His 3 guards, all again in full Anbu uniform. In the trees at the edge of the training field where the execution was to take place, Sasuke sat hidden cradling 3 oversized weapons in his arms, cursing whoever had decided that, when it came to weapons, bigger was better. They all felt the explosions rock the village, but no one left their posts, and just minutes later Shizune saw the signal and started to lead the Nukanins through the masses of people. As they walked, Naruto sub-vocalized into his communicator, speaking just loud enough for the microphone to pick up on me. "Temari, I wanted to apologize for something. Is this really the time? Yeah, I need to say this now. I know things have been awkward between us for a while, since the incident on the rooftop, and I'm not really good at this kind of thing." Naruto paused and hesitated for a moment. "But I want to say I'm sorry for being so distant and that I really do like you a lot." It was a good thing Temari was wearing the mask, because she could feel her face heating up. "I like you too, Naruto. But I really think we should talk about this later." "Yeah." Later, Naruto agreed, feeling slightly drained. It had taken a lot of courage to say that, far more than he had expected. At this moment, it should be noted that both Naruto and Temari had forgotten one small fact, that since they were talking over their communicators, Kasami could still hear their every word. The shark man wore an evil grin under his mask. If they survived this, he would have enough ammunition to make fun of those two for the next 10 years. Slash minus 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 slash. Itachi stood calmly chewing his stick of Pocky as the huge fireball was bearing down on him. At the last moment, he activated his main Chi Sharingan and surrounded his body with the black flames of Amaterasu. His black flames protected him from the worst of the blast, but keeling over as the fire jutsu finally ended was one of the most painful moments Itachi had ever experienced. He forced himself to lie calmly and quietly as the Hokage approached, then when she was about to check his pulse, Itachi felt 3 impacts in the ground around him. Right on time. Foolish little brother, he thought amusedly. He heard the commotion that was most assuredly Naruto, Kasami and Temari revealing themselves, and grabbed the Hokage's wrist while he opened his eyes and pulled himself up. That hurt, he growled. Tsunade could only manage a single utterance as her eyes met Itachi's. Mangekyo. Chapter 22, Feel the Rhythm. Itachi knew he had only a few fractions of a second before Tsunade came to her senses and tore him in half like wet tissue paper, but a few fractions of a second was far more than he needed. Just as the clarity was starting to come back into the Hokage's eyes, Itachi delivered a sharp chop to her neck and she crumpled. In that moment, it was as if time stopped completely as the multitude of spectators tried to figure out what was going on and the various shinobi were frozen by Itachi so casually holding the unconscious Hokage, daring anyone to make an aggressive move. Not wasting time, Temari and Kasami started different sets of hand seals, while Naruto let his mind slide into semi-awareness and granted the Kyuubi partial control. It was an odd feeling to voluntarily give up his body, because he was still aware, but he perceived everything as if through a haze and was watching his own body do things he wasn't telling it to do. Had the situation been less serious, he would have found the sensation amusing. Allowing himself to revel in having an actual body, even for just a few minutes, the Kyuubi grinned to himself and spoke in a darker version of Naruto's voice, I have to do 236 hand seals, and I need my ass covered, so no screw-ups. Naruto's body started to move, and for just a second or two all 3 were forming seals. Temari was the first to finish her jutsu, and as soon as she started to whip open her fan, Naruto and Kasami took steps back, still forming seals, to get out of the line of fire, K's Nenshou no Jutsu. As had been planned, she aimed intentionally high, so the superheated blast of air only skimmed the crowd, knocking a few people over and singing a few hairs. It was, however, plenty to send the citizens into a panic. It took only moments for chaos to break out, and in this time Kasami finished his seals, Kirigakure no Jutsu. The group formed a tighter circle as the mist rolled in, and the ball was in the opponent's court. As he had a tendency to do, Itachi immediately analyzed the situation. The Kyuubi was slightly clumsy controlling Naruto's, so it was the Ukka's prediction that it would be about a minute and a half before the jutsu was complete. He still had the Hokage as a hostage, but he knew from personal experience how fast the Anbu would organize a counterattack. Up in the trees at the edge of the mist-filled field, Sasuke was finding himself conflicted. His original plan had been to just run away on his own as soon as he'd thrown the weapons, but now he was feeling the tug of his conscience. It wasn't with regards to any of his rescuers, as Sasuke had not doubt that one way or another, Itachi and Naruto would make it out alive. Instead, he found his concern focusing on a white-haired medic nin who was currently being restrained below him. As much as it irked him, Kabuto had always been a loyal servant, and now he was in desperate need, with no one else to help him. Sighing to himself, Sasuke activated his Sharingan and jumped off his branch. He fell through the air without so much as a whisper, and once he could see the backs of 3 figures, he coiled his whole body up like a spring. Once he was only a couple feet above them, the Jounin felt his presence and started to look up, but he exploded into action, driving the left Jounin back with a blow to the jaw and sending the right Jounin reeling with a kick to the stomach. Even after this little acrobatic display, he hit the ground running, and after realizing what had just happened, Kabuto followed a few steps behind him. When the two of them reached Itachi, he barely even acknowledged them before starting to speak. Kyuubi needs another minute to finish his jutsu, and the Anbu will make an assault in 16 seconds. Temari will take the Hokage while Sasuke, Kasami and I deal with the Anbu. Kabuto looked slightly confused. What do I? You, Itachi said abruptly, stay here and don't get in the way. Are there any problems with the plan? No. Good. Temari had the blissfully unconscious Tsunade quite literally dropped into her hands, and moments later she felt the approach of a group of high-level shinobi. Hefting same Hada, Kasami grinned, here they come. Sasuke glared at his brother, I can't believe I'm doing this. Itachi relaxed his body in preparation for combat. Naruto would rather we not kill people, but do what you must. He paused for a second. Go. They dove into the mist. Slash minus 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 slash. Immersed in fog, Kasami lifted his sword with two hands and went into a stance reminiscent of a batter awaiting a pitch and spoke in an exaggerated announcer's voice, "Now we have Kasami at bat." He felt a disturbance in the mist and swung, catching an Anbu in the chest and sending him flying back from whence he had come. The shark man sunk into his stance. A second time, that's a home run, folks. Let's see if he can do it again. Moments later, a second Anbu advanced more cautiously. Kasami again swung, but his opponent danced just out of range. Thinking he had caught his adversary off balance, the Anbu darted forward, only to realize he had underestimated the speed at which Kasami could reverse his swings. The second Anbu found himself flying backwards, and the shark man continued with his announcer's voice, unknown to the other team, "Kasami is a switch hitter." Another home run. The squad commander, moving very carefully, made his way through the mist toward Kaizam's position, followed closely by the rest of his team. He raised his hand as a signal to stop and advanced the last few yards alone, trying to catch a glimpse of the blue-skinned man through the mist. The Anbu leader took another step forward, and Kasami, only a couple of feet away, swung with all his strength. The Anbu went hurling backwards, and moments later Kasami heard the sound of bodies colliding. He took a few steps and saw a conked-out commander on top of his swirly-eyed team. He smirked, "There it is, folks. Kasami scores a grand slam." Slash minus 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 slash. Elsewhere in the fog, Itachi and Sasuke had their own Anbu to deal with. So far, things hadn't been going so well, as the two brothers kept getting in each other's way. Their fighting styles were similar, but just different enough that their rhythms conflicted with each other. Sasuke landed next to his brother and his eyes darted left and right. They were surrounded. Itachi could feel the Anbu closing in. "You know what our problem is, Sasuke?" Sasuke glared, "What?" "We're focusing on our differences rather than taking advantage of our similarities." As he spoke, Itachi regressed from Mangekyu to normal Sharingan. Itachi started to tap his foot to a silent beat and Sasuke rolled his eyes. "You can't be serious, I haven't done that exercise since I was 6 years old." Itachi's foot taping became more insistent, and when a kunai whizzed by Sasuke's head, he reluctantly started to tap along with his brother. When they had been young, they had been taught that the best way to fight with someone else was to perfectly synchronize everything you did. The way they had been told to achieve this was to, right before combat, get their internal rhythms to line up by tapping their feet in time. The Anbu were approaching, but as Sasuke focused on the beat, he could feel his heartbeat and breathing change to match his tapping foot. He started to hear the tapping in his head and soon his foot stopped moving, and the silence told him Itachi's had as well. His whole body now seemed to be operating on that beat in his head. Tap, tap, tap. Itachi and Sasuke shifted their positions so they were back to back. Tap. The mist swirled and the attack began. Tap. Sasuke tossed a kunai into the air while Itachi sent an Anbu flying with an uppercut. Tap. Itachi grabbed the kunai from the air while Sasuke exchanged blows with another Anbu. Tap. Itachi went into a low spin while Sasuke jumped into a spinning kick, Itachi dragging his kunai across the thigh muscles of Sasuke's opponent and Sasuke kicking over his brother's head to send yet another Anbu away with broken ribs. Tap. Itachi reached behind him into his little brother's pocket and grabbed one end of a coil of wire, Sasuke grabbing the other a moment later. Tap. Itachi and Sasuke sprinted away from each other, keeping the wire almost taut between them. Tap. Sasuke curved left and Itachi right, running in a large circle. Tap. The two brothers passed each other, forming a quickly tightening loop of wire. Tap. The both felt something catch at the same time and increased their speed, not willing to let their victims get away. Tap. They looped around again and met each other in the middle, then ran side by side until the wire was pulled as tight as it would go. Within the mist, 4 Anbu were caught in the razor-sharp wire and were trying to free themselves. Tap. Itachi passed his end to Sasuke, who flashed through some seals. Tap. Sasuke held both ends in his right hand, Yorizudori. Lightning arced over Sasuke's body and tore down the wire. For a few seconds, the wire crackled with energy, and Itachi could feel his hair stand on end while he was 10 feet away. The energy subsided and Sasuke dropped the still smoking wire to the ground. "That," he said breathlessly, "is a jutsu I invented to use on you." Itachi looked on calmly, "Yorizudori. 10,000 birds. I don't suppose there's any point to checking on our Anbu friends." Still out of breath, Sasuke laughed throatily. "With that much electricity going through them, they'll be out for at least a few days. Slash minus 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 slash." Outside the mist, Kakashi watched. It was like a wall of white, dividing the field in two. On one side was mass panic as the citizens of Konoha pushed to get away, and on the other side was absolute silence. 2 full squads of Anbu had already been deployed into the fog. There had been the sounds of combat, a large surge of chakra, and now nothing. Slash minus 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 slash. QB had been mentally counting his seals as he went, to be sure he hadn't missed any. 232. 233. 234. 235. 236. Done. There was no jutsu name called, but Naruto, who had been just starting to enjoy, not having to tell his body what to do, suddenly found himself slammed back in control, just in time to feel a wave of chakra emanate from Kirai. Next to him, Temari and Kabuto shivered. Kasami, Sasuke, and Itachi immediately felt the wave and rushed back towards Naruto. Within seconds, the great chakra had covered the entire village, and then it vanished. The chakra was gone, yet every person in the village, shinobi or otherwise, felt something was wrong with the air. Outside the wall of mist, a major assault was being readied, consisting of over 100 shinobi. Most of the village's Anbu and a large number of Jounin were prepping and being hastily briefed. Everything was silent for a few more seconds, and then a great unearthly howl resonated through the village, causing every man, woman, and child to freeze in their tracks. Naruto let out a huge sigh of relief and almost collapsed. "It looks like our friend has made an appearance. We're in the clear. Though I'm very tired right now." Walking slowly, and followed by Itachi, Kasami, Temari, Sasuke and Kabuto, Naruto made his way towards the edge of the mist. They started to hear yells, screams, and the sounds of general chaos. When they broke the wall of white and emerged into sunlight, they found themselves faced with a scene that none would ever forget. Konoha was wrapped in chains. They were growing from the ground like devils, guarded and seemed to cover the whole city, entrapping all its inhabitants in their frustrating metal embrace. Only 15 feet away, Kakashi himself fought vainly against the chains that restrained his arms and legs. The copy ninja stilled as Naruto approached him and attempted an air of nonchalance. "Hello Naruto, come to visit? Just here to pick up an old friend, Kakashi. We'll be gone soon enough." The copy ninja smiled under his mask. "We will be coming after you." "No, you won't, because right now everyone here is at my mercy. I could kill anyone I wanted, but I'm not going to, and in exchange you are all going to leave me alone. And what, dare I ask, makes you think we'll agree to this deal?" Kakashi asked, still smiling. "Simple. I did this jutsu once, and I can do it again. If I'm forced to use it a second time, I may not be so merciful." With that, Naruto strode past the copy ninja and made his way through the throngs of restrained and pissed off people. He ignored the familiar faces, the insults and the threats, walking resolutely forward. Behind him, Temari was only slightly unnerved. She could see some shinobi trying to reach for weapons or form hand seals, but the chains always held them back. She was currently fighting off the fear that Fenrir might make one little mistake, and one Anbu would get a jutsu off. As they approached the edge of the field, Itachi suddenly veered off to one side, making his way over to where he found a certain pink-haired girl who was sobbing, her tears rolling off the chains that held her to the ground. "Hello, Sakura-san." Sakura's head snapped up in response to his voice, and all the shinobi nearby quieted in an effort to hear what was going on. Paying no attention to the crowd, Itachi leaned in and whispered in her ear, "Thank you for the meal and company." With that, Itachi backed away and jogged to rejoin his companions just as they reached the edge of the field. Slash minus 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 slash. They stood outside a small store near the edge of Konoha. "How much longer?" Kasami inquired. "Will this jutsu last?" Naruto leaned against a wall, still tired. "A while yet. Forming the chains is very tiring, but maintaining them takes very little chakra. Fenrir can probably keep it up for at least a few more hours." "In that case," Itachi said, "I think we should stock up on supplies." Nods could be generally seen, but Naruto looked to be barely able to keep upright, so Itachi took control of the situation. "Naruto will rest here, the rest of you, grab whatever you think might be useful." With that, they set about the systematic looting of the store while Naruto sat outside on a deserted street. Or, to be correct, what he thought was a deserted street. At first, Naruto thought the wind was just kicking up dust, but then he noticed that there was a whole lot of it collecting. He also realized a moment later that it was not dust, but sand that was swirling around him, and Naruto started to look slightly nervous. All at once, the sand condensed into a solid form. A solid form that suddenly reached out and grabbed Naruto by the neck and lifted him into the air. Now most definitely nervous, Naruto grinned. "Gaara. Nice to see you again." Chapter 23, Fear the Pickle. Naruto had been in a great many difficult situations in his life, but his current one was easily near the top of the list. Gaara had him quite firmly by the throat and appeared completely casual about it. "Hello there, Naruto, it's been a while. I take it you're doing well." Still hanging in the air, Naruto attempted an air of indifference. "Not bad, though I'm feeling rather tired right now." The sand boy nodded. "That was quite a jutsu you did back there. Shukaku tells me it was to weaken the dimensional barriers, no small feat." I was quite impressed myself, as even I really didn't know exactly what the jutsu was going to do. It was at this moment that the door to the store opened and Kabuto peeked out. He was about to say something, but then noticed the fox boy's situation. "Is everything okay, Naruto-kun?" Naruto grinned back. "Yeah, Gaara and I were just having a little chat." Kabuto looked skeptical. "It looks to me like he's trying to kill you." Gaara rolled his eyes. "If I was trying to kill him, he would be smothered in sand. I just want to make sure he doesn't run away." The medic nin shook his head. "Okay then. Naruto, I wanted to know if you had any preference with regards to food?" Still 2 feet off the ground, Naruto stroked his chin thoughtfully. Not really. But thanks for asking." "Carry on then," Kabuto said and ducked back into the store. Gaara was silent for a few seconds, and Naruto started to get tired of hanging. You've made your point, so could you let me down now?" "No, the white-haired boy had a good idea there, so I'm currently considering strangling you and throwing your body down a very deep well. I think the idea merits a few more minutes of thought. Do I have any input into this decision?" "Your input was kidnapping my sister and then disappearing." Naruto pondered this for a moment. Gaara did have a point, and the fox boy wanted to tread lightly, as he was only mostly sure Gaara was joking about the strangling thing. Silence reigned for a few more seconds, then Naruto fell, hit the dirt and took a few deep breaths of air. He stood up and brushed himself off, leaning against the wall. "So then seriously, what can I do for you?" "I would figure that you would ignore me and go see Temari." "I will see my sister in good time. Right now, you are going to tell me everything that has happened since you left Konoha. Leave anything out and we may go back to the strangling idea." Now, inside Naruto's head, little gears were turning. The only way for Gaara to confirm or disprove anything was to talk to Temari and compare what they said, so the fox boy could only get away with not telling Gaara something if he was pretty sure Temari wasn't going to tell her brother either. The list of things covered by that definition was quite large. Naruto then told his, slightly edited, story. Throughout his explanation, he discovered that he could judge how Gaara was reacting based on his scowl. At the beginning, talking about when Temari had technically been his prisoner, Gaara had a fierce glare on his face, but when he got to the part about getting her a new weapon and helping her learn new jutsus, the sand boy's face became neutral, and he even smiled a teeny tiny bit. When Naruto finally finished, the two were silent again, each lost in their own contemplation. The door to the store popped open and Kabuto again looked out. "Oh. We have a bit of a situation in here." Naruto sighed in exasperation. "I'm kind of busy right now. But tell me what the problem is." The white-haired nin rubbed his head nervously. "Sasuke and Itachi look like they're about to attack each other." This received an eye roll from Naruto. "I would be worried if those two didn't look like they were about to kill each other. Have Kasami and Temari calm them down." Kabuto got more nervous. "Kasami and Temari are already making wagers with regards to the winner, so I don't think they'll be much help in diffusing the situation." Naruto looked up at the sky for a moment, then a proverbial light bulb appeared above his head. "Try making the offhand comment that you heard somewhere that the Byakugan was superior to the Sharingan." Kabuto ducked back inside, immediately catching on to Naruto's idea, leaving said foxboy to again face Gaara alone. "So, what do you think? It appears that under the circumstances, you had no choice but to act as you did, so I can't blame you. I will also say that you appear to have done as well as you could to keep Temari safe and help her become stronger." Naruto took a little bow. "I try my best. So then, when are they going to be done in there?" "I'm not really sure, but it shouldn't be too much longer." "What do we do until then?" Naruto suddenly got a light in his eyes. "It's been a while since we've fought. The last time was, if I recall, in the forest when you went all crazy." The sand boy smirked slightly and released his hold on the sand, allowing all of it to just fall to the ground. His gourd dissolved and the sand armor that always covered his body fell away, revealing his skin. Naruto looked blankly on and Gaara's smirk grew wider. "You're exhausted right now, so using chakra wouldn't be fair. Besides, I haven't really had a chance to try this taijutsu I've been learning." Gaara took a look at Sarai-Kirite, but no weapons. Naruto grabbed his sword and threw it haphazardly into the air. "Fine then, if you want it that way. I could use an old-fashioned physical fight right about now. Slash minus 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 slash." Within the store, Kabuto found himself on the receiving end of a two-pronged attack. Itachi and Sasuke were giving him the comprehensive list of all the reasons why the Sharingan was far more powerful than the Bakugan. The two brothers had unconsciously fallen into a system where whenever one of them needed to breathe, the other would take over and continue the list. Temari was just putting the last few foodstuffs into her bag when there was an explosion and all movement inside the store ceased. Sasuke stopped mid-sentence and bolted for the door, Temari following only moments later. Itachi, Kasami and Kabuto leisurely gathered up their things and meandered in the general direction of outside, confident in the younger generation's ability to handle any problems. Slash minus 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 slash. The street looked like a miniature desert, with sand covering the ground everywhere, but Sasuke's attention was immediately focused on the grapple that was going on. Naruto and Gaara were in the middle of the mini-desert, caught in a deadlock. They were exchanging quick light blows with neither showing an apparent advantage. It was obvious to Sasuke that Naruto had far superior taijutsu technique, but his fatigue evened the odds. Gaara used only the most basic taijutsu, but was far more energetic and nimble. The young Uchiha shook his head. Nimble was never a word he would have normally used to describe Gaara, but the sand boy had evidently been practicing and training. The two combatants noticed Sasuke's appearance, but paid it no mind, both thoroughly enjoying the fight. They did, however, Pay attention to who followed Sasuke out of the store. Temari emerged into the light and was greeted by the image of Naruto and Gaara freezing in mid-combat, with Gaara's fist an inch from Naruto's face and the fox boy just bringing his leg up for a roundhouse kick. She took a deep breath. What in the nine hells are you two doing? Still frozen in their odd tableau, the two suddenly felt the need to go hide somewhere. Naruto went back to standing normally and cleared his throat. We were fighting. Temari felt a headache coming on. Why exactly? Gaara spoke this time, for fun. Sasuke felt the need to bring up a point. What was it that exploded? Naruto and Gaara looked at each other and shrugged, then looked around. After a few seconds, Gaara saw something and pointed, leading all gazes in that direction. A few hundred feet away, Sarai Kirite was sticking out of an electrical transformer, sparking contentedly. Attention refocused on Gaara and Naruto. Temari sighed. Why am I not surprised? Her adrenaline rush wore off slowly and she jogged forward to catch her younger brother in an unexpected hug, lifting him off the ground. Despite the mess, it's good to see you here, little brother. I would have thought you would be back in sand long before now. Gaara blushed slightly. Well, I was partly looking for you. You disappeared rather suddenly. She laughed nervously. Yes, I suppose I did. Sorry about that. Itachi emerged holding his bag and looked at the sky. I'm afraid we must leave soon. We'll need all the time we can get. Releasing her brother, Temari nodded. Okay then. I'm really sorry, Gaara, I'd like more than anything to talk more, but the time. I don't suppose you'd consider returning to the sand. Naruto was running to retrieve his weapon, but was listening in as she responded, a part of him apprehensive, part of me wants to. But we both know there's no place for me there. Not only that, it would ruin relations with Konoha. In fact, you probably shouldn't tell anyone you've even met me. Gaara looked at the ground. I guess. She gave him another quick hug. Tell you what, we'll come visit sometime, since I'd like to see Kankuro too. You just head back to the sand and don't worry. I can take care of myself. Itachi almost growled. We need to go now. Naruto returned, almost stumbling, with his sword in tow. Itachi's right. All of Konoha will be coming after us. Gaara nodded, but suddenly grabbed his sister's wrist. You promised to visit, don't forget. Naruto laughed. Oh, we'll be sure to, just you wait. Next time, we'll do some real sparring. /////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////////// camp had been hastily set up and its occupants were in various states of mind. Sasuke and Temari were sleeping like logs after the ridiculously long run. Naruto was feeling refreshed as he had been carried by Kasami for a few hours and was out setting up a perimeter, and Kabuto, Itachi and the aforementioned Shark Man were sorting through the supplies. Kabuto was currently looking through the duffel Itachi had filled with a sweat drop. There appears to be nothing in here but Pocky and Tang. Was something wrong, Itachi-san? Itachi tried to look innocent, which he failed miserably at. No, I chose what I thought to be most important. Kasami dug through another one of the bags and suddenly grinned in his unique sharky way. You know what I'm thinking right now. Itachi's eyes narrowed sharply. Yes, and this is not the time. Kabuto looked confused. What? It's not the time, for what? The shark man held up a ripe tomato. Time for a SCMS. The poor medic Nin looked more confused. SCMS? Itachi rolled his eyes. A special culinary munition spar. Kabuto tried to decipher this. Splat. Pieces of tomato fell from Kabuto's face and he suddenly got it. Itachi cursed. Kasami. This isn't the... Splat. Cool as ice, Itachi removed the tomato from his face, took a deep breath, pulled a dozen eggs out of his bag, opened them, grabbed 2 in each hand, and whipped them at his partner. Kasami ducked and laughed, grabbing a bag of carrots and tearing it open. Soon, Kabuto was ignored completely as the 2 Akatsuki clashed with various food groups. The shark man hit upon a winning strategy of using carrots as kunai until Itachi broke out his spinning sausage links. Kaizam's eyes narrowed. Yes indeed. Your sausage nunchaku are quite fearsome, but they are no match for the pickle of doom. Itachi snorted. The pickle of doom? What are you going to do with a pickle? Kasami glanced sneakily over to where Temari sat against the tree asleep and reached into his duffel, pulling out a jar of what looked to Itachi to be perfectly normal pickles. He slowly unscrewed the lid and drew one of the wet green vegetables out, and with a flick of his wrist, the pickle flew gracefully through the air as if in slow motion and smacked wetly into the side of Temari's face. Her eyes snapped open and she suddenly became very awake. Kasami quickly slid his jar back into his bag and yelled, "Itachi! How could you do that? Throw a pickle at a poor, unsuspecting sleeping girl." The still groggy Temari made a threatening guttural noise and glared sleepily at the Sharingan user. Then she started to get up, and Itachi took a step back. Naruto walked into camp 10 minutes later to be greeted by the scene of Itachi lying face down on the ground. "You okay?" Itachi mumbled in a way that sounded vaguely like acknowledgement. Naruto looked at the prone Itachi curiously, and then turned to Kasami, who was cleaning same hata. "What happened to him?" The shark man smirked. "He mocked the pickle of doom." "Wah! We had a special culinary munition spar." Naruto looked at the various food products that lay everywhere. "What exactly inspired you to do this?" "It's a tactic to relieve stress and promote non-work relationships between Akatsuki pairs. It's also really fun." Itachi pushed himself up. "That's a matter of opinion, but I won't deny I've been known to participate once in a while." "Well, on a more serious note, the perimeter is secure, but we need to decide where we're going now, and what you two are going to do. You do still remember that you ignored your orders and are now a wall from the Akatsuki?" Kasami nodded. "Yeah, but I've recently been having an idea that might solve that as well as some other problems. Trick is, we'd have to keep it quiet, cause it won't work if certain people are aware of it." Naruto and Itachi looked at him questioningly, and he glanced over to make sure Kabuto was still out of earshot. "I think my idea will be best for Sasuke, but he probably won't agree with me on that, and if this is going to work, it has to be done tonight." Itachi nodded. "We're listening." Slash minus 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 slash. The next morning, Sasuke woke up feeling better than he had in weeks. The sun was bright, his life was no longer in immediate danger, and things were looking good. But he noticed something wrong. Where there should have been people, there were none. Where there should have been a set-up camp, there were just 2 sleeping bags. Everything else except 2 of the 4 food duffels and a plastic bag containing something he couldn't identify were gone. This disturbed him. He pulled himself out of bed, walked over to Kabuto's sleeping bag, and kicked it. "Ooh! What? Are we under attack?" "No, but we're alone. We appear to have been abandoned." Kabuto rubbed sleep out of his eyes and surveyed the area, making the same observations Sasuke had only moments before. "What's in the plastic bag?" "Don't know, haven't really examined anything yet." Saying this, Sasuke went over and opened the bag, revealing an envelope on top of lots of black cloth. He pulled out the envelope and tossed the bag to Kabuto, who began rummaging around. The Uchiha examined the outside, which seemed normal, and tore it open, unfolding the 2 sheets of paper inside. The first one had only a couple of lines in what Sasuke recognized as his brother's slightly scratchy writing. It said, "Congratulations, you've been promoted." Shaking his head, Sasuke turned to the second page, which was significantly longer. "Within the country of lightning, there is a lord named Mamoru Shinobu. He has an estate 113 miles east of the capital. He is to be eliminated. It shall be made to appear as if his wife killed him. Payment shall be 1,200,000 yen. It was obviously a mission assignment, but there was nothing to suggest where it had come from. Looking down at the first sheet, Sasuke noticed there was something drawn on the back of it. It looked like a map. "Hey, Kabuto, come tell me what you make of this." There was no response, so Sasuke turned around, and his eyes widened. "Son of a bitch." Kabuto was holding up 2 black cloaks, embroidered with red clouds. Chapter 24, Cool Hats. Not since the attack of the 9 Tails had Konoha been in such chaos. People were running everywhere like chickens with their heads cut off, none of them really having a destination. Through the masses of people strode the Godam Hokage, her body leaned forward aggressively as is daring anyone to get in her way. She was going to a place that was generally forgotten and ignored, which was unfortunate because, although only needed rarely, sometimes it was really needed. Now was one of those times. She arrived at a small building on the west edge of town and banged noisily on the door. "Hanzo. Get down here now." After what felt like ages, the door was slowly pulled open and an old man looked out with a smile. "Ah. Tsunade-sama, what a pleasant surprise. You knew perfectly well I was coming, and you know just as well what I'm here for." The old man laughed and opened the door wider. "Must you always go straight to business? I haven't had a good chat with you in years." Following the old man into his house, Tsunade looked around at the racks and shelves that filled it. Here was where the most ancient of scrolls and books were kept, an archive of information that no one had wanted but Hanzo. The library would have too much trouble to transport, so he had just moved into and redecorated the archive building. They went into the study and Tsunade found a large plush armchair and sat down, waiting impatiently. Not in any rush, the old man took a moment to straighten a scroll rack that had gotten misaligned and then eased slowly into his own chair. "So then, I'm guessing you're here because of the incident a few days ago." "Of course. I've spoken with every jutsu specialist in the village, picked the brains of the summoning experts, and been briefed by the greatest masters of chakra control." Hanzo leaned forward and leaned his head on his left hand. "And now after all that, you come to visit an old collector of books. Why? Because no one else has a clue what happened. Yes, it would appear that you are in quite a difficult situation. That," the Hokage said tiredly, "is a major understatement. Well, I've been predicting this visit and have been doing some thinking and researching, but I first want to hear what other people have said." Tsunade took a moment to sort through the mess of memories that made up the last 8 hours. "Well, I've been told it could have been some type of Doten jutsu, but I've never heard of any jutsu that widespread. Some people think it was an extremely powerful genjutsu, but that seems too far-fetched as well. Apart from that, it could have been a chakra manifestation, but one of that size would require an inconceivably huge amount of chakra." The old man nodded. "There's an old saying that goes, when you have eliminated all that is impossible, whatever remains, no matter how improbable, must be the answer. That was most certainly a chakra manifestation of some variety, which leaves us with the far more complicated and interesting dilemma of its source." Sitting in her chair, Tsunade was wishing she had come to Hanzo first. As always, his calm methodology made the answers to problems seem simple. "So where do we start?" "We start," the old man said, "with a poem." "A poem? What? Are you going deaf in your old age?" "Yes, a poem, or to be more precise, a very old poem." "Give me an approximate age. Are we talking 100 years? 200 years? 500 years? Hanzo reached behind his chair and pulled out what looked like a slab of stone in a plastic bag, turning it over to show a 4 by 2 foot surface covered in small scratch marks. Tsunade stared. "You've got to be kidding me. This writing was only used for a period 1200 to 1600 years ago. It is the only record I have ever read that pertains to the incident. So read me this poem. I'll read a modernized version, since there have been some major changes in language, and if I were to read it as written you wouldn't be able to make sense of it. In fact, the method I've used to modernize it is a relatively new and I have to say quite fascinating procedure. It starts by copying the manuscript twice and..." Hanzo. "Oh, I'm sorry, you wanted to hear the poem, didn't you?" The old man cleared his throat slowly and noisily. "Long before the age of man, when animals free roamed the land, there arose up from his sleep a monster from the deepest deep. His howl could make the ocean swell, and with his roar the mountains fell. The people fled clear of his path, lest upon them fall his wrath. But some among them rose to fight, stood to end his reign of fright. And from among them emerged 8, who swore they'd seal the demon's fate. On the highest peak of all the land, the demon fought against the band. For 40 days and 40 nights, they clashed across the savage heights. The heroes knew they could not win, Their swords bounced off the demon's skin. And yet still they would not yield, but chose another battlefield. As day turned twilight, then to dusk, they fought among the standing stones. And there a ritual was done, to take them to the shadow plains. 'Tis said that there they shall remain, till willingly the best atones. In that dark place where human souls can serve but as the demon's chains. Finishing the poem, Hanzo raised his voice dramatically, as if he were an actor, reading a script. So, what did you think of that? Sure, it's a nice poem, but what does it have to with the incident? Hanzo looked at her with just a twinge of condescension. Hokage-sama, do you think any human would have the chakra to manifest enough chains to enwrap a city? Tsunade looked shaken. No. I've never heard of anyone having anywhere near that much. Therefore the only conclusion is that it was a demon. I guess. No. You don't guess, Tsunade. It's not a pleasant thought for me either, but if we start ignoring things we're afraid of, it will lead to the village's destruction. Tsunade took a breath and closed her eyes. So Konoha has been again ravaged by a demon. How am I supposed to tell the people without causing mass panic? First of all, we weren't ravaged. If memory serves, no civilians and only 3 shinobi were killed. Those few who were killed were the ones sent after the escaped prisoner and his rescuers, so that means the demon itself killed no one, something we need to acknowledge and be thankful for. Second of all, there's already mass panic, so more information can't hurt at this point. So you want me to go out there and tell a city they should be thankful they were attacked by a demon? Exactly. Had the 4 Nukenin just attacked head-on, there could be hundreds, or even thousands more casualties. Oh. I'd never thought of it that way. Obviously. Tsunade got a glint in her eyes. You might want to watch how you speak to me. To her shock, Hanzo laughed openly at her. You've become far used to your position intimidating people, Tsunade. I was a jounin before you were even born. In fact, you might remember it was me who oversaw your jounin exam. The Hokage did indeed remember. She had been completely confident in her abilities only to be thoroughly thrashed by Hanzo, who even then, at 46, had been old for a shinobi. Hanzo went on, the point being, I'm far too old to bother pretending to be intimidated by you youngsters and your filibusters. So then, what other insight can you offer me? Tsunade said with only a hint of sarcasm. Well, the more I've thought about it, the more I'm sure the being we encountered is the one mentioned in the poem, but there seemed to be something missing. Tsunade became fully serious again and nodded. The last stanza was a completely different form than the rest of it. You're thinking someone cut out and rewrote the end. Indeed, I think there may be as much as half the poem missing, and I am working with the assumption that it was done to limit anyone's knowledge about this particular creature, whatever it may be. The obvious problem is that if this version was written over 1,000 years ago, the original may not even exist anywhere. If it does, we'll find it. The other obvious solution would be to just find Naruto-kun and ask him about the demon yourself. Tsunade shook her head. I've had to send out squads to search the forest to keep up appearances, but it's obvious to anyone who knows about these things that with their head start our odds of finding them in the wilderness are slim to none. Well then, Tsunade-sama, I suggest you hop to it. I don't imagine the village is going to be very patient about finding out exactly what it was that made a complete fool of us and ruined our reputation of strength. The Hokage groaned slightly as she got up. I really don't need to hear that right now. Oh, but you do. The names of the shinobi involved will soon be forgotten and brushed aside, but it will be remembered forever that a demon was involved. The Hokage seemed to get progressively more morose as she walked to the door. Well, I suppose it's time to go out and face the bureaucracy. Drop by again sometime, Tsunade. I do so enjoy our little chats. // Meanwhile, in the forest // As he had done so many times over the last couple days, Sasuke pondered conflictedly over the cloak that had only days before belonged to his brother. He knew logically that joining the Akatsuki would be a good choice for him. It provided a structured yet not overly restrictive environment for Nukenins to develop their skills, but something inside him still resisted. He set down the cloak and picked up the mission assignment, on the back of which was scrawled a map. It showed an area near hidden waterfall, and Itachi had, with his usual subtlety, written secret base here in large block letters with an arrow pointing towards the side of a badly drawn hill where Sasuke suspected there would be hidden door. Sasuke sensed movement behind him, but refused to acknowledge it, continuing to study the map. After a few minutes of blankly staring at a page he had long since memorized, he lost his patience. I think you're enjoying yourself just a bit too much, Kabuto. Behind the Uka's back, Kabuto paused in mid-kata. But I'm just training, Sasuke-sama. Sasuke slowly turned to look at the medic nin icily. You're trying to make your cloak billow out as you fight. That's not training. Kabuto smiled evasively. Is there something wrong with wanting to fight with a little bit of style? When you're bugging me, yes there is. I think you need to lighten up a bit, Sasuke-sama. I think you need to stop being a distraction, as I am trying to decide our next move. What's there to decide? We do missions for them, they give us money, and as an added bonus, we get cloaks, rings and cool hats. But still, you have to admit, Sasuke-sama, that the hats are cool, and we get them for free. What other group gives out free hats? The Shriners. Kabuto paused, a rare valid point. But their hats aren't cool. Tuning out Kabuto, Sasuke looked again at the mission request, his logic finally overcome his resistance. Trying to be firm in his resolve, Sasuke jumped to his feet and started to pack up camp. Noticing Sasuke's movement, Kabuto stopped mid-monologue. So I take it we're leaving. We'll try this mission, and if we succeed, we'll go from there. Yes. Kabuto twisted his body, so his cloak billowed out behind him. Free hat, here I come. // Meanwhile, somewhere else in the forest // What? Kasami took a step back from the irate girl, leaving Itachi to face her wrath. How could you pack nothing but Pocky in your bag? Itachi crossed his arms. I like Pocky. Temari smacked her forehead. Yes, but we human beings need more than chocolate and wafer sticks to survive. Therefore, it is somewhat of a problem when one of our provision bags contains nothing but Pocky. 20 feet away behind a tree, Kasami felt the need to give his input. Actually, Temari-san, there's some orange tang in the bag too. Immediately realizing he had drawn unwanted attention to himself in the way of a glare, Kasami ducked back behind the tree only to see Naruto taking a nap in one of the branches above him. Making sure as to not draw attention to himself again, he carefully climbed up the tree and poked the fox boy in the shoulder. Why do I want Kasami? What are you doing up here? Well, I was sleeping until you interrupted me. Kasami sat down on the branch. I don't suppose you'd care to mention to Temari that she was the one who just grabbed 2 of the 4 ration bags without checking to see what was in them. Naruto looked over to where Itachi stood calmly amongst the hurricane that was Temari's temper. Not particularly. They sat silently for a few seconds, still well within earshot of Itachi's verbal thrashing. Kaizam's stomach rumbled. I'm getting hungry listening to her talk about Pocky so much. Naruto stood up and stretched, pulling his sword from where he'd stuck it into the tree. Let's go get something then, we'll just take the long way around camp and find ourselves something to snack on. // 10 minutes later // After numerous failed attempts to sleep while standing and with his eyes open, Itachi had discovered a way to pass the time. If he watched closely, he could predict what Temari was going to say before she said it, and the closer he looked, the further ahead he could predict. From subtle muscle twitches and the way her yes shifted, he was predicting up to a full sentence in advance. Itachi cut into her endless lecture. Yes, there's a town only a few miles ahead where we can get supplies. Temari stopped. Don't interrupt me when I'm ranting. Even my brother knows not to interrupt me when I'm ranting. You were about to say, and you better hope there's somewhere up ahead where we can get real food, and so I saved us both time by answering the question before you asked it. That's not what I was going to say. Yes it was. How do you know? I just do. If you're making fun of me I'll. Itachi suddenly vanished and Temari didn't even have time to react before her body went numb. What the hell did you do? Reappearing right behind her, Itachi flicked the back of her head, and watched as she tried to swat at him, but fell over instead. I just poked you in all 37 paralyzing pressure points. Itachi leaned over her. How about this? I undo the paralysis, we get more food in the next town, and you stop wearing my ears off. Okay. Itachi poked her neck and feeling returned to her body. Good then. Slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash author's note slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. There are moments in the life of every person when we wish we could do that, just instantly paralyze someone who was annoying us. The only thing is that Itachi does have the power to do it. This chapter is intentionally, yes, intentionally, short because I wanted to keep a kind of lightness throughout the whole chapter, and that I wanted to do another little random bonus thing. For those awaiting more philosophical babble and Naruto fluff, you must endure until the next chapter. Apart from that, I'm off to Anime Expo today for the weekend, so I leave you with slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash bonus number 2 slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash minus slash. Gaara stood in the middle of an empty field, basking in the silence. There were no bugs, no animals, and no wind. There was no sound at all. He noticed that he was mostly naked, wearing only a set of boxer shorts covered in pictures of Shukaku, but it didn't bother him for some reason. He started to walk forward, feeling the grass run pleasantly between his toes, and thought again what a wonderfully peaceful place this was, with absolutely nothing to annoy him. Pika! Gaara stopped cold and turned his head to look in the direction of the sound to see what had dared to spoil his tranquility. There, in the grass, stood a large yellow mouse-like thing that continued to look at him curiously. Pika Pie? Go away. The odd thing stood there for a moment, then suddenly leapt at him. Pika! Electricity crackled in the air as the yellow rodent flew towards him, and Gaara, being Gaara, reached out with his sand and crushed it into a bloody pulp. Now back in his world quiet, Gaara was happy for only a couple seconds when his silence was broken again. New Pikachu! Appearing out of nowhere, a boy appeared and clutched at the bloody remains before standing up and striking a pose. I am Ash Ketchum, from the town of Pallet, and you are a horribly evil man who has taken my best friend from me. It is with this knowledge that I shall, in the name of justice, strike you down and end your dark ways. Despite the loss of my partner from me and ended our great adventure, I shall continue on and Irk. The sand withdrew and Gaara sighed happily. His field was again tranquil. Prepare for trouble. And make it double. Squish. Gaara cursed silently. Where did all these freaks keep coming from? He looked around slowly, and no more annoyances appeared. But he walked cautiously forward only to feel something hit the back of his head. He looked down and saw what looked like a red and white plastic ball. A moment later, another ball hit him, only to be followed by 3 more. He followed the path of the accursed projectiles and found an old man hiding in the grass, who upon seeing Gaara's approach, stood up nervously. Hello there, I'm Professor Oak, and I'm here to tell you about the wonderful world of Poke. With a squish and a crack, old man was no longer a problem, but Gaara was seriously starting to wonder if he was ever going to be left alone. Gaara continued through the field, now very apprehensive, but it appeared as if the annoyances had finally left him alone. He stumbled slightly on a rock and stubbed his toe. When he reached down to make sure it wasn't broken, he was struck with a dawning horror. His feet were too small, as were his hands, and they were all yellow. He ran his hands over his body and felt not skin, but fur. Refusing to believe it, he tried to speak. Pie. Pika. Gaara's eyes snapped open. Kankuro burst in the door. Gaara. You okay? What the hell was that? Quickly realizing he was in bed, Gaara calmed down. I'm fine. Just a nightmare. I'm fine. Kankuro shook his head. Man. That must have been some nightmare to scare you like that. Gaara laughed between deep breaths. Let's just say I am never ever playing Game Boy before bed again. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists, hope you would like them too.